You good, Tony? All right. It is 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. I call this regular Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Services District meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Good evening, directors. Roll call. Director Maynard?
Here.
Director Shade?
Here.
Director Remney?
Here.
Director DeMarco?
Here.
President Searles?
Here.
Everybody's accounted for.
Thank you. And tonight, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Girl Scout Troop 5086. Welcome, ladies.
Please stand, face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you ladies could just stick around for just a moment here. Ladies, on behalf of the Rossmoor Community Services, thank you. And if you have time, I hope you can stick around. We have the Orange County Fire Authority and Elizabeth Denny presenting on safety this summer, and I think you'll find it quite informative. So please, thank you so much again, ladies. Officer Zeffirino Valdovinos does not appear here to be here yet, so we'll go ahead and move on to item 4B, which is report from the Orange County Fire Authority, Elizabeth Denny, Community Relations Education Specialist. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, board, for having me. I always love seeing all the familiar faces. It's a pleasure to be able to be with you this afternoon. We, as your fire department, come on a biannual basis and just have some reminders for our community members. So we'll go over some of those things. Obviously, as the weather is warming up, the large topic is going to be water safety and preventing any kind of injuries that are related to the swimming and being around water. So we'll talk about that a little bit today and appreciate everyone's attendance. There we go. A little bit about the Orange County Fire Authority. We are the county fire department. We are pleased to serve 23 cities within our county and all of the unincorporated areas. That adds up to be around a little under 2 million residents, and we have about 80 fire stations. As we continue to grow as a population, we add those stations as well. So we have a large group. I am part of a larger team that offers community education. Oftentimes, if you go to community events, like our Rossmoor family festivals and things like that, I will be out there, or a colleague of mine that is serving the community, answering any questions you might have. I did bring some goodies today that are out on the refreshments table, so please help yourself. Those are some of the items that we give away at our community events for our drowning prevention campaign. So a couple things we'll just chat about is, so what is drowning, the ABCs of water safety, some sources, signs of distress when we're looking at drowning, and then some rescue techniques. So we've got two different types of drownings. We'll move through this quickly just in the sake of time, but we've got fatal and non-fatal. We'll kind of see a breakdown of that. But obviously fatal is a very severe portion of very severe outcome of the worst outcome. And then of course we have non-fatal, and you'll see that those numbers actually are pretty competitive with one another from the data statistics of last year. So the number that we had last 2024 was 111 was the amount of individuals, both fatal and non-fatal drownings that had happened within our county. So within our 23 cities, that's how many we had experienced. So you can see that it is a very prevalent issue. I get drowning notifications for any of my cities that I serve. And so unfortunately, we do get notified of these unfortunate situations. So just again, it is prevalent, it does occur, and it is something that we face in our day-to-day neighborhoods, even if it's not something, even if it's a close call and it doesn't make it on the news or make it in the local newspaper, it's still something that we encounter and something that we're constantly raising awareness on. So by a long shot, you can kind of see in that pie wheel there that backyard pools and community pools are kind of a large one. And then of course, as you'd imagine, ocean and bays, we back right up to the bay here, right up to the ocean in Seal Beach. And so, those backyard pools and community pools oftentimes is where we let our guard down. If we know that we're being encountered by waves and rip currents and things like that, we might tend to have our eyes on our children, but really, when we're sitting at our pools, we feel more comfortable, especially our backyard pool. And we want to remind you that those are not anywhere that is 2 inches or above of water is a dangerous setting where a child can struggle and face some level of drowning. So you can see that the factors that we're looking at when we're looking at those statistics, we pulled the 2023 statistics and analyzed those. That lapse of supervision is going to be the first and foremost. We have some water watcher tags that are also placed on the table. You'll see them. They are necklaces. That basically just assigns responsibility to a sober adult to watch the water as a lifeguard. So we encourage, if you have a pool at home or you have a community pool or your friends have a pool that you frequent, grab one of those, add it to your pool key. It does save lives having that call to attention. The lack of barriers we'll talk about. Of course, medical issues. We see, we'll talk about the age demographic and how that does affect, when we have different medical issues or we underestimate the amount of sun or hydration we have. And then, of course, intoxication, whether that's taking our eyes away from, the pool or our distraction, or ourselves, underestimating how intoxicated we are while we're swimming, which of course is very dangerous to do while intoxicated. So timing is really important. Every second matters. As you can see, there's kind of a general breakdown there. At 20 seconds, a child can become fully submerged within the water. And then, an infant can lose consciousness. An adult it's at a minute, adult can be fully submerged in the water. And that fully submerged would be like, your lungs are filled up with water at that moment in time. And then you can see that at around 10 minutes, your brain can actually become dead. So at that point, even if your body is revitalized, it obviously causes very serious cognitive issues and functions. So again, not to frighten anyone, but this is just a reminder that this happens very quickly and every second counts. And so if your child ever goes missing, the first place you want to check is the water. That's the first location because every second counts when it comes to drowning. So we have different, there's different types of factors that play part with drowning. We've got the temperature of the water, or the temperature of outside, salt water versus fresh water. Salt water tends to dehydrate a body more. And then, of course, your wet drowning versus dry drowning. Someone could choke on water. Someone could, be doing something that's, like just covering their face with water or in some way have some sort of dry drowning. We've all kind of swallowed water before to go down the wrong hole. There's very serious cases of that sometimes. But there's two different types of drownings that are categorized. So switching gears to just the ABCs of water safety. This is what our campaign is really focusing and doubling down on. We want to remind everyone there should always be active supervision around those bodies of water. Barriers. The barriers that we add to with a pool, we'll talk about a little bit more, but that functions a lot like an onion. The more barriers that you have, the more that center core is protected, the more we protect our family from these really dangerous areas. So there's multiple different barriers we'll talk about. And then, of course, classes. Classes is another key way to protect ourselves. So we talked about those water watcher tags. We have them at that table. Please feel free to grab one. You want to be a water watcher as a sober adult who's able to swim, who can watch the water at all times, and then avoiding distractions. We all know that the largest distraction fits in the palm of our hands, right? Whether it's a TV remote, whether it's a cell phone, a magazine. Those are all very small things that we don't consider, maybe as damaging or distracting, but they tend to be the reason why most people are distracted from the water. And then just rotating every 10 to 15 minutes. If you go to a local public pool, you'll notice that the lifeguards will actually rotate and they'll change positions every 15 to 20 minutes. Why they do that even as professionals is because they know that an attention span, even while being a paid lifeguard, does tend to decline after that 15, 20-minute mark. And so by changing up, rotating, getting a lap of, just a fresh perspective, it makes a huge difference. So we ask that you change that responsibility every 15 to 20 minutes as well. So active adult supervision, we talked about that. Barriers. So when it comes to barriers, again, it's really the more barriers that we have, the more levels and effort that we have to protect little ones or individuals, pets even, that fall into a pool that weren't intended supposed to be in there. So we want to make sure that there is a gate that is latched. So there is a 2017 Pool Safety Act now that requires you to have 2 out of those 7 measures. So we'll talk about the measures, but nowadays if you sell a home, if your home was built in, the 1950s, 1940s, 1960s, it might have not come with that pool barrier of a gate. Now, if you are selling a home, that is part of that act. The legislation has realized that those safety barriers are a huge life changer and do affect these statistics. And so it is a requirement now when selling a home, and that should bring to attention how important it is to make sure that those gates are locked, to make sure that not only are they locked, but those latches work the way that they're intended to. If the gate is 40 plus years old, there's a chance that it might be rusty, it might not close well. So we want to just remind you that even if you have that gate, make sure that it is well oiled and ready for the summer and to protect. So a couple of those barriers: self-closing fences, self-latching gates, gate alarms, door alarms, motion detective devices. They are constantly coming out and issuing new technology to help bring awareness if there's someone in there that shouldn't be. So just be mindful of that. If you have a pool, take the extra necessary precautions to be safe. Check and maintain regularly, and again, keep updated on that new technology. So swim classes. So oftentimes we interpret swim classes as something that is for a specific age, right? But there's a lot of adults who don't know how to swim. And there is no limit. There's no age limit on classes. There are free classes that are available through different cities. There are, night classes that are available if you work a day job. There are so many different available resources to tap into if you're not a confident swimmer. So really do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, your loved ones who love you. Take your loved ones who also, if anyone struggles with swimming, isn't a confident swimmer, and check out those resources that are local to you and learn to swim. They have different types of lessons. Really, really young infants, there's such thing as called survival lessons, where they're basically instructed just to buy time, where they float on their back. Because if you've ever seen a video of an infant falling, it looks like someone dropped a rock in the pool. They sink. So these survival lessons are they're great because it teaches an infant to be able to float on their back by a few seconds of time should there be an emergency. So we're exposing a child at an early time period to start gaining confidence and learning skills and techniques that will eventually turn into recreational swimming lessons and things like that. So really encourage you that if you've got an infant, to check into those survival lessons, and then just as general adults or young adolescents, that we check into those recreational. And then of course, follow the safety rules if they're posted. Any public pool should have a certain posting that's regulated and enforced. Make sure that we're abiding by those. They are put in place for a reason. We can take CPR, AED classes. What's great about CPR and AED is that when you learn how to use both of those life-saving functions, that is a skill just like a bike where you've kind of learned it for a lifetime. And so an AED is something that you see on the wall. You could see that there's an AED here. AEDs are usually in all public buildings. And that is basically to open that up. It will speak to you and is completely, it tells you exactly what to do. And as long as you follow that step by step, it will be able to instruct you how to hook everything up and whatnot. So it is a really valuable resource that's available, again, if you're in any kind of community center or any kind of community, like a public building. Oftentimes, if you're at your local grocery store, if you checked around, you'd find an AED. So those are always really great, and there's lessons to be able to use those if you want to become more confident, well-versed in that. And then just learning, again, those practice, rescue, and techniques. So those are a little bit more stats that we have about a current, drownings. 69% of drownings of children are under the age of 5. So we can see the importance of that, right? Our really little ones who might not understand the importance. 80% of child drownings was last seen safe in the home 5 minutes prior to being around the pool. So again, all of this happens in an extremely fast pace. You might have turned around, gone to the restroom, and 5 minutes, come back, and now we have a really serious problem on our hands. And then 66% of clinicians know that drowning deaths are more common than toxic ingestions, firearms, other related injuries that we see within our young age group. So really, really important with that pool safety. Drain safety. Just a reminder, if your nowadays pool drains have kind of instant stops. If you're putting in a new pool, there's a lot of different safety regulations that are now built in. But oftentimes our swimming pools come with our homes that were originally built, 40 plus years ago. And so those drains have the technology of 40-year-old drains. And so we don't always have those drain safety measures that are put in so we just want to remember that we stay away from any kind of drain entanglement. We don't have jewelry. We don't have, we put back our hair. We don't play, around in any of that, near any drains or anything like that. Nothing that can drag or be kind of pulled into something being sucked in. And just installing some compliant safety covers and automatic shutoffs, things like that. So, and then another important one is know where your pool and spa pump to turn on and off, right? Because in a new pool and spa drain, if it feels any kind of pressure, like someone's hand or something, it's on top of it, it'll immediately turn off. But with the older ones, if you don't have maybe that automatic shut-off system, knowing how to quickly turn that off is going to be a real key to survival. So if you've owned this home, if your partner is usually the one who handles all of those things, try to become educated yourself. And that way, should something happen on your watch and that person's not around, you're familiar, you're confident with how to run and turn off that pump. Flotation devices. We always encourage a life vest for anyone who's not confident. That's not just our open waters. Of course, when it comes to open waters, which is our rivers, ponds, lakes, streams, oceans, That flotation device is key, especially if we're going to be using a canoe or anything with a current. That's always great. We only encourage you to have the U.S. Coast Guard approved vests. Those are the only ones that have been tested for buoyancy and tested for accuracy. If we're buying something and it's, from Big Lots or something like that, and it hasn't had that stamp, that seal of approval, it cannot be claimed that it's going to properly float and be buoyant. So just keep an eye out right where your tag would be, that it says what size it is. It's going to be where that U.S. Coast Guard approved stamp would be. They're going to be specific to age, weight, and then they fit comfortably snug. They're going to fit like a hug, right? Just how a properly fitting seatbelt would feel. So exactly how that's going to feel. And then, of course, having zippers and buckles and making sure that those are properly, it being properly put on. Oftentimes people will put it on, but they don't do all the necessary measures. But again, this is to preserve life, and so we just want to make sure we're being thorough with that measure. Beach safety. So again, those rip currents. I don't know if anyone had seen the rip current footage for the 4th of July, but in Newport, Huntington Beach, there were several dozen saves because of how extreme those rip currents were. So it's not that it's not, there's a good portion of us that we're probably spending time within those beaches. So it's just really important to remember that rip currents are a real thing. We'll see a demonstration there just to remind you how to get out of a rip current. But remember watching those warning signs, the flags, make sure that you're by a lifeguard, that you have an eye on the lifeguard, you're within reach of a lifeguard. A boogie board or a surfboard needs to come with a leash. That's not only to keep you from swimming and constantly trying to chase your board and get tired, but it's also to protect people who are around you. If it catches loose and it hurts someone, then that's going to be a real bummer. So it's to protect us ourselves as well as others. And, obviously we always want to keep small children within reach. We can see that demonstration of what a rip current looks like. It's a tide that pulls us out to sea and can often wear us out if we try to fight that. It is called flip, float, follow, which basically you'll flip on your stomach. You're going to try to conserve all of your energy. And then you're going to turn onto either side. We're never going to fight the current that's dragging us out. So we'll flip, we'll float out, and then we will go to the side and make our way back. So just swim to the side to get out. If you can't escape, tread water, float, and of course, wave your hands back and forth, show that you're in duress, and see, hopefully call for help, and some additional resources will be there. Additional water resources, again, just a reminder, bathtubs, any open water, boating, all of these are elements that we experience drowning. It's not just our textbook of pools, it's not just our textbook of ocean. If we're going on a fun vacation to Havasu or, to Bass Lake or anything like that, we just want to be mindful. Drowning myths, it's very different, the myths of what it looks like in Hollywood versus what it looks like in reality. In Hollywood, we see a really dressed person waving our hands back and forth, screaming for help. But the reality of it is drowning is silent. It happens without a sound. Often someone is grasping for breath. Their arms are in a doggy paddle type movement. So we don't see them back and forth like we would see in Hollywood. And then our head would be bobbing, kind of cocked. We'll see what that looks like in the next one. So that's kind of a demonstration of what a person's would look like. You can see that their head is going to be just gasping for air, and oftentimes their head will just be barely bobbing above the water, and that is what it looks like to be in duress. So some techniques: if you recognize someone drowning, get help, know your ability, don't become a second victim, right? Use what's around you, a shepherd's hook, a life ring, a pool noodle, some sort of flotation device, anything that you could throw out there to help that person. That person's obviously very frightened and afraid for their life, and so going in after them is not encouraged unless you know that you're a confident swimmer and that you are capable of safely taking that person. So if you're a grown adult, maybe there's a child and you're a confident swimmer, that might be in a scenario where you might feel comfortable rescuing them. If they're unconscious, you can take a flotation device with you, approach them from behind, and and then immobilize them by having them float on their back. Once out of the water, make sure you call 911. Again, even if it was just a brief time period, maybe they came to, maybe they coughed up some water, let the professionals check their vitals. Make that ultimate decision as to whether it's something that they encourage you to go to the hospital or not. We're here, we serve your community 24/7. The ladies and gentlemen who serve the city of LaSalle and Rossmoor really love what they do. They are very well intertwined in your community. A lot of them are part of your community, and so really call us, at any point, night and day. We want to be there to serve you guys. So don't hesitate to call us. And then, of course, that CPR is that life-saving and, those rescue breaths. So we talked about it, some safety tips: wear a life vest, stay dry when the waves are too high. Steer clear of any kind of pier, swim near a watchful adult, whether that's a lifeguard or an adult. Don't fight the current. Yell for help while you still can. If you're in a rip current, your body's getting tired. Flip, float, follow, which is what we chatted about. Save yourself first, and then go and call for help, and then be a responsible water watcher. Good. Drowning is fast, it's silent, and it's preventable. So help us help you guys this summer. We want everyone to have a safe summer, and we want to see you on good experiences and at good times like this. We don't want to only see you when things are horrible. So thank you so much for having me. Thanks for taking the time out to listen to some safety tips. Board, thank you for your time. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions for Elizabeth?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being part of our community. You always shine when you're out here, and we appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure. I really appreciate it.
I just wanted to echo that as well, because I know you are in your busy season, and to take your time out here and to be at our festivals is awesome. I ran into Assistant Chief Hunter a couple of weeks ago, put in an excellent word for you, and he was beaming because he knows how good you are too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Again, we love serving you, and that is me including. So thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And we're going to move back to 4A and the California Highway Patrol Officer Zeferino Valdovinos and presentation of the district traffic report for the quarter. Welcome, Officer Valdovinos.
Thank you, Board. Officer Valdovinos, assigned to the Westminster CHP office. I service the Rossmoor area, the Anaheim Island, and Midway City for you guys. It'll be kind of quick and brief. The last meeting that I was able to attend was back in March. We talked about the e-bikes. Still continues to be a challenge. One of the things that I'm requesting some of the people that live in the areas, the unincorporated areas, is contact your Board of Supervisors, see if they can put some laws on the books for e-bikes. That's one of my big requests. Just want to remind e-bike riders that the speeds on the sidewalks of Rossmoor is a 5 mile per hour speed max. So if you're riding on the sidewalks, it's 5 miles per hour. Streets, still street speeds. Riders under the age of 18 must wear a safety helmet. I recommend everybody wear a safety helmet, especially with those e-bikes. A lot of damage can be done if you're not. No passengers are allowed to sit on the back. Even though they might have like a seat on the back, you're still not allowed to ride on it. Also on the front foot pegs of the e-bike, and if they have anything else like the front or the rear pegs. If riding in the street, you're required to obey all traffic signs, signals, and right-of-ways of speeds. I believe back in January through March, we had 2 e-bike collisions, totally preventable. An e-bike is classified as a bike with pedals with an electric motor of not greater than 750 watts. Anything greater is considered a motorcycle, which must be registered and have a valid driver's license. So if you're driving one of those big e-bikes, just understand that you could get stopped. They could confiscate it if it's not registered. Moving on to the schools, I know Hopkins, Lee, and Rossmoor, their first day of school starts on the 13th of August, I believe, and then Weaver starts on 7:30. So you'll see me out there the first couple of weeks, probably in the morning and the afternoon, doing school enforcements. Just a reminder, don't park in the drop-off and pickup zones. It's just drop-off and pickup, so not allowed to get out of your car. It's kind of like the airport, right? You just park your car, let your passenger get out. Don't walk up, drop them off all the way to the class. Also for the red zones, please don't park in those. It'll be hectic, it always is the first couple weeks of school. So yeah, please help me out with that. Let's see. The stats for March to today, we had 6 crashes in the Rossmoor area. 1 was an injury crash, just minor injuries. 2 were intersection collisions. 1 was an unsafe speed collision. 1 was an unsafe backing, and 2 unsafe turning movements. So again, just be cautious of all the signs, markings on the roadway for the intersections. Speed, 25 miles an hour through the residential areas, and a couple 35 mile an hours with Montecito, but slower is better through here. So my primary enforcements that I've dealt with is, for the contacts that I've dealt with, is cell phone use. Please stay off your cell phone while you're driving. With all the advancements in technology with cars, I find that it's even easier to hook it up to your car, Bluetooth. It sounds better and everything. So please use your cell phone through Bluetooth, not in your hand. Intersection tickets, running that red stop sign, terrible, right? That's where we're taking our crashes. So please, just stop for the no California roll. I know everybody is in a hurry, right, even in summertime, but please slow down, complete stop for the intersections, and then just fail to yield for other people. So we have some uncontrolled intersections here in Rossmoor. My request is, just look both ways. You can make a complete stop in an uncontrolled intersection to make sure you can see, especially since we have kids out for the summer. So that's pretty much all I have for this. I brought some pamphlets, again, for the e-bikes. I'll hand over to Caroline. If you guys have any questions, we do have the phone number on it, so you guys can contact me or Dwayne Graham. He's the alternate for me here in the Rossmoor area. And there is a training program on the CHP website that you just scan the QR code, and it's good for both kids and adults. Kind of know what you're getting into when you get in these e-bikes. I feel some of these, the parents, big request from them is please help me out with these e-bikes. Just don't buy your kids an e-bike and just send them on their way. Try and go through the training and be like, oh wow, these can be dangerous. So that would be my big request. Other than that, I don't really have anything else.
Director DeMarco, any questions for?
Sure. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the report. So, there's been a lot of, recently just, you mentioned ordinances or laws by the supervisor, but a lot of city ordinances cracking down on e-bikes. I'm just wondering, what is unincorporated Orange County missing? What would you want in terms of an ordinance that is not already in place? Just curious. Anything come to mind?
Sure. Some of the ordinances that we have, if you guys know Huntington Beach, Seal Beach, they can confiscate your bike. If you have so many violations or the violation is so egregious, they can kind of impound your bike, right? So it gets expensive when it's pretty much like impounding your car. You pay a fee to get it out, and sometimes it's not even worth it. So they've seen a downtick in their activity. So that's one of my biggest requests. Just the county has totally different laws than the municipal codes of the cities. So it would be helpful to mirror some of what these cities are doing.
Yeah, if you remember any or hear of any, please share them with us, and maybe we can get those things passed. Curious, just for the public, how many days roughly are you in Rossmoor a month?
Usually I'm in here at least 3 or 4 days in the morning. I try and hit it in the afternoon as well. So
3 or 4 days a
week.
A week. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
And then school time, I'll be here pretty much Monday through Friday in the morning because it just gets hectic.
Excellent.
And then unless I get called away to doing something else. I also cover state buildings, so if I have something happening at a state building or dignitary protection stuff.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Director Renee.
Thank you for being here. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And Director Shade.
Thank you for joining us. Officer Zavarino, you said that we had your cell phone number?
Yes.
All right. I get a lot of calls, people calling me, residents calling me, telling me there's a homeless person, certain places, something like that. But if there's a call regarding a e-biker, or if I see e-bikers, would you be the one that we would want to call?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If you do have an e-bike issue, please email me. Pictures help
Okay.
a lot. If you have like a resident that's like, kids are constantly, just doing crazy stuff, if they could take a picture, send it to me, that helps me out with my management team, goes up to our legislators. Since I do dignitary protection, I talk to Assemblyman Tree-Taw, Sharon Quirk-Silva, all of them, Tony Strickland now. So usually I can talk to them a little bit and be like, hey, help me out with these these e-bikes.
We'd
So,
appreciate that. We get so many complaints on this. I myself personally have had issues with e-bikers, so I know none of us are exempt from that.
I think we all have.
Yes.
I deal with them. I'm not too far from here either, so it's, dealing
You
with them
deal
all the
with them.
time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Director Maynard.
Thanks for coming tonight. When is the next DUI checkpoint within the Rossmoor area?
Good question. I think we're planning on it probably in August, so hopefully we can get it done by then.
Okay.
We're kind of in a budget crunch right now for it, so I'm trying to find funds from Office of Traffic Safety right now. So, but August is what we're planning. So we'll give you a date because we like to. Usually we give a date out probably like a week prior and then 2 days prior.
Thank you.
So, yes, sir.
Just thank you so much, Officer Valdovinos.
Thank you.
Yep. And moving on to item 4C, recognition of future Eagle Scout Ryder Kono. Ms. Landers, would you like to introduce the item, please?
I'd be happy to. Thank you. This is it's kind of an unusual, I'm going to say special occasion, because we have somebody in our community who is looking to achieve the Eagle Scout Award, which is a very high honor in the Scouts. And so we have our own resident, whose name is Ryder Kono. And President, did you want to provide the information on him, or did you want me to provide it?
You could. I think you've been familiar with the project a little more.
Okay, thank you. And I know we also have some photos. Okay, so I'm going to stall for a minute while we're getting this ready. But Ryder, why don't you come up so that we get to see who you are while I speak about you? So come on up, and you could stand at the podium there if that's okay. So one of the things, one of the major things that Ryder did was he built, with the help of some of his friends, a butterfly garden in Rossmoor Park. Now, we have one here in Rush Park, and it's been incredibly popular. And Mary will talk a little bit about that when she does her report. But Ryder offered to put a similar butterfly park in Rossmoor. And so this is pictures of him with his friends working on it. His organization, creativity, and leadership throughout the planning and execution of this project was truly impressive. He demonstrated a strong work ethic and respectful attitude when working with staff to finalize the details of the plans. Throughout this process, Ryder constantly exemplified the core values outlined in the Scout Oath and Scout Law. He is particularly trustworthy, always following through on his commitments and showing a deep sense of responsibility and the tasks that he takes on. So we take great pride in our Rossmoor resident and future Eagle Scout, Ryder Kono, and we are happy to recognize him with a Rossmoor Certificate of Appreciation. So, President, do you have that certificate?
Yes,
with you?
thank you.
Okay.
Ryder, do you want to tell us about your project?
Sure. So it's a 8x10 above ground planter made out of redwood. And I kind of just put a couple inches of rocks in there for drainage and some soil above it. And then after that, I was able to install some plants in there to attract butterflies. And then pretty soon we're going to have some signage up there. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Director Maynard, were you an Eagle Scout? Do I remember that right?
It's an always constant.
Okay, yes.
So once you become an Eagle Scout, you will always be an Eagle Scout. And when is your, have you gone through the full process with your council and all that yet?
No, not yet. I'm working on it though.
You'll remember that day too.
Thank you.
Good luck though.
Thank you.
Director Shade, any questions, comments?
Congratulations on this, Ryder. This is a huge accomplishment for you. We're so proud of you and for everything that you've done. This is going to be something, like Director Maynard said, that you will remember for the rest of your days. And it's going to come in real handy for you on any of your future endeavors. Believe
you
it
so
or
much.
not, it will.
Yep.
You'll always be remembered as a Eagle Scout. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Director Remney.
Congratulations. When you get ready to embark on your Eagle project, remember Rossmoor, we have a lot of volunteers and many hands make light work. Where is Troop 642?
Seal Beach, California.
Great.
So right here.
Director DeMarco.
Yes, thank you for your contribution, for giving back to Rossmoor. We appreciate it. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I do have a couple questions. One, what was your hardest part of the project? And the second question is, what was your favorite or most rewarding part of the project?
Ooh, the hardest part was probably like putting the boards together. It's kind of hard sticking the jurs in, the screws in, and making sure that all the walls are secure. The funnest part was probably trying to figure out what plants go where, trying to align them and making sure everything looks good and even.
Perfect. Well, again, the Rossmoor Community Services District would like to present this certificate of appreciation to you for your outstanding dedication and contribution to the Rossmoor communities and by designing and building the beautiful Rossmoor Park Butterfly Garden. Thank you so much, Ryder.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Moving on to item B, additions to the agenda. There are none. Public forum. Any person may address the Board of Directors at this time upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Rossmoor Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to staff at the discretion of the board for a report and action at a subsequent board meeting. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person per item and 9 minutes cumulative. I don't believe we have any comment cards. The one speaker, I believe, is part of the agenda later. Is that correct? Alrighty, thank you. Moving on to item D1, reports to the board. Report on the urban forest by Director Arborist Mary Kingman. Ms. Landers, would you like to introduce Ms. Kingman?
Yes, so of course, I know the board knows, but maybe not everybody in the audience is familiar with Mary Kingman, who is the arborist and has been for several years. And Mary will be doing, I think it's a quarterly report to the board, and I've also asked her to do a presentation on our butterfly park that's here in Rush Park as part of this.
Thank you, Sharon, and good evening, President Searles and directors. Actually, my report will be focused on the first 6 months of 2025, January through June. So because we did the grid pruning in fall of 2024, there wasn't a lot of tree pruning going on the first 6 months, but 38 trees were pruned by district contractors, and a majority of those were in the parks where we had a lot of tree growth and target areas where people would be congregating for summer festivals, playground areas, and so forth. So 38 trees were pruned. 39 trees unfortunately had to be removed due to different issues, the majority for fungal pathogens and bacterial pathogens that are not curable in trees. So once those pathogens start going up through the tissues of the tree, eventually it's going to block the tissues that transport water and other nutrients, and the tree is going to die. So that was the majority of the removals that we experienced. There were 16 of those, and of the 39. 5 bacterial disease, 4 just had hazardous structure, and 5 for decay that turned into hazardous conditions in the tree. There were 5 unauthorized trimming or removal citations issued. 13 limb failures occurred, and we did have some rainstorms in the early part of the year, so that was where that was coming from, most of those limb failures. We also get some occasional wind, and the sea breezes can get pretty strong in the afternoon. Excuse me. So of the failures, there were 5 tree-related property damage claims, but actually only one of those was the result of a tree failure. The other 4 were root issues. I have more detailed information on that if you ever need it. And 151 resident service requests were responded to. We hosted a Arbor Day event on April 2nd in Rossmoor Park, and that was also Earth Day this year. So the children from the youth center and some of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts enjoyed that event. We did some earth-friendly crafts, some games, and gave away plants and trees to the kids. So that was a really nice event, and it went really smoothly and well. We do have the mulch available at the Kempton Park Mulch Yard, which is the yard on Silver Fox, just adjacent to Kempton Mini Park. And that free mulch is available on the second Saturday and fourth Friday of every month from 9 to 11. Residents do need to bring their own containers to put that mulch in, and this is different than the compost giveaway that CR&R hosts occasionally with the bulky trash pickup. So compost you mix in with the soil, mulch you put on top of your garden beds or around your trees. I also wanted to take a brief moment to talk about the Rush Park Butterfly Garden. You know, you heard about Ryder's Garden at Rossmoor Park. So we do have a little butterfly garden outside our offices here. And this was planted with some neighborhood kids in 2022. It's in a 6 by 10 foot raised planter that was already existing. And we've just seen it grow over the years, and it's just looks better and better each year. So it's just become really popular, and it's just inspiring to see all the enthusiasm and people. You know, it's right outside my office, so all day I hear and see people coming up to the garden. They get really excited because they see all the different life cycles of the monarch butterfly, and it's just a really great thing for our park. And I don't know if we had any photos available, but okay, so I encourage you to come see the butterfly garden here. Monarchs are a really important insect pollinator, and they are in decline due to climate change, disease, habitat loss, CO2 in the atmosphere, pesticides and herbicides taking away their plants. So anything we can do to help the monarchs recover, because they have been declining for the past couple of decades. And hosting a butterfly garden and providing milkweed is a great way to do that. So they're just amazing insects that can migrate from northern Canada all the way to their overwintering sites in coastal California, or they can go all the way down to the sanctuaries near Michoacan, Mexico. So that's the conclusion of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Director DeMarco, any questions?
Sure. Thank you, Mary.
Sure.
Let's see, what do I have here? So we've planted 79 trees this year, 2025, right?
Yeah, there were some during the planting season that were planted in 2024.
Is that
fall,
it for
winter.
this year?
What's that?
Is that it for this year? Planting?
No,
Yeah,
our
go.
planting will resume in October, and then it'll start all over again.
Other than, I see the 6 safety pruning that Orange County does. They pay for those, right?
They do,
Okay,
yeah.
the off-grid pruning, we pay for.
We pay for
Right?
those, yeah.
For the other 32, okay. I think that's it. Thank
And
you.
all park
Oh.
trees, we need to pay for because
Yep.
it's not part of county, really.
Yeah.
Part of their.
Oh, one last thing. Have we gotten any trees or sites off our no plant list or refusal list? Have we gotten any of them planted? Have we turned any resident around that did not want a tree in front of their?
I think most of the list got planted, and there were a few that there's some legal issues going on, but most of them did get planted.
Okay, oh, that's good. How many
Yeah.
sites do we still have, do you, offhand?
I believe around 3, and then some did not survive
Oh,
for
yeah.
various reasons.
Yes.
But only about 3. So out of, I think it was 30.
Yeah, really?
35, I think we got most of them
Oh.
planted, yeah.
Okay, so
It
that,
was-
that worked. Hopefully the trees survive,
I hope they do.
even though the resident doesn't want it. Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
Mary.
You're welcome.
Director Renday.
Again, want to say thank you, and to the RCSD mostly, because I don't know how many people know that most tree cities don't have a full-time arborist. And the commitment that we put in to maintaining not just the beauty of our trees, but the health of our community, I'm grateful and appreciative, so thank you.
Thank you.
Director Shade.
Nicely said, Director Maynard. I'm sorry, Director Remney. I want to reiterate that as well. That's absolutely. Mary, thank you so much for everything that you do. You know we appreciate you more than we can say. I do have a question on the removed trees. Was there any sort of that were in the parkways and the parks? Was there a pattern on those trees at all? Like, is it any?
Yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of that is, the majority were due to a fungal pathogen.
Was there a certain type of tree that it was on, or?
A lot of the white alders are getting a fungal disease called Phytophthora, and so we do have a lot of white alders, and so that species of tree tends to be removed a lot.
Just curious on that since we're on the tree committee here.
Yeah.
Appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Maynard.
Thanks for coming out again. Is it just me, but I'm noticing monarchs more this year than I have in years past. And that's whether it's in my own front yard, across the street at Target, or even at my office in Garden Grove. Is there some success that other communities are also having?
Yes, I think awareness of the importance of planting milkweed and butterfly gardens, and even younger people are hearing this and getting really excited about making this effort to boost these monarch populations because it's really important and they're beautiful. So that's another incentive. They're an insect, but they're also beautiful, and people like to see them fly around. So, it might be also, at one point they were telling people to only plant native milkweed because the tropical milkweed, they thought there were issues with it. But now I'm hearing from UC entomologists that there's just not enough native, especially in urban areas. It's not, we're not in these natural landscapes where native plants can just grow wild. So in urban areas, it's more important to just get the milkweed and provide the food for them. So a lot more people are planting milkweed now, I think.
Well, I love it. Just ironic, I just notice a lot more monarchs.
Yeah, and the more milkweed that gets planted, the more it just, it spreads through these little, their seeds are little puff balls that fly everywhere and land and germinate. So the more that gets planted, the more that grows. And then hopefully less pesticides in the air, that also helps.
One last question. On the 39 trees that had to be removed, it says from the parkways and the parks.
Yeah.
What was the composition? Did we lose more parkway trees or park trees?
No, it was actually only one park tree.
So only one, the park, the rest were all in the park?
In the parkways,
In the parkways,
yeah.
okay. That's all, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Mary, if you could just, I see there are 2 memorial trees. Could you just kind of tell everyone about the memorial tree program if you're familiar with it?
Yeah, sure. So residents do have the option to have a memorial tree planted in one of our parks where there is space, and they get to choose the tree as long as it's as long as it's a tree that is suitable for the parks. So I do have a whole lot of information on that I can send people through email if they're interested. And the cost is $300, so it's basically just what we pay for a parkway tree to be planted. So we were previously allowing plaques on the tree, but it wasn't really working out. So moving forward, we're just going to offer a certificate of planting, and that is in line with what a lot of other cities are now doing.
Well, thank you, Mary.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think you have further items later, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to E, the consent calendar. Consent items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the Board of Directors at one time. If any board member requests that an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed by the President so that it may be acted upon separately. Is there any item from the consent calendar that a director wishes to have pulled?
I just have a comment on one, so I don't need to pull it. I just want to tell the board what the conversation I had with Ms. Landers about the expense. So we can do it any way you want to do it.
Yeah, if we can discuss it and then
Okay.
I mean, we can talk about it now.
Yep.
Let's just,
Okay, so I just, and we had talked about this, I think you had brought it up a couple months ago, where we have this, we show on our expenses, we show our checks when we're written, but on our credit card statement, it's just one lump sum. And I think in the past, we've asked for just a more of a line item, and it wasn't in there, so I just asked Ms. Landers today to include it or start including it, so I just wanted to share that with the board, because it's a $9,000 expenditure that we probably need to look at the breakdown a little more. And I know we've talked about it in the past, so just sharing that with you.
Okay. Do you want to hold that item for
No,
the? Okay,
no,
perfect.
I think it's been a bit corrected, or going to be included.
If I may, when Director DeMarco brought it to my attention, we have the report. It wasn't, for whatever reason, included. It had been, as he mentions, at other points in the past, so it was definitely an oversight. I think that I've sent it to everybody so that you all have it, but we will make sure that it's part of the expenditure report in the future. As Director DeMarco mentioned, this one was large because it included a charge of between $4,000 and $5,000 that was for our permits, for our festivals, for Orange County Public Works. But that's a good reason for you to want to see it, because you see a big number and you kind of wonder, what could we be spending the money on? Once you see the actual breakdown, you could see that that was the big charge, and then everything else was probably within what would be expectable limits. So we apologize for that, and thank Director DeMarco for bringing it to our attention, and we will make sure it's included in the future.
Thank you.
So with that, I move to approve consent calendar.
I'll second.
All righty. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to item F1, public hearing. Public hearing this month will be the fiscal year 2025 through 2026 proposed final budget for the Rossmoor Community Services District, immediately followed by a vote on resolution number 25-07-08-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Services District establishing the annual revenue and expenditure total amounts for fiscal year 2025 through 2026 for the Rossmoor Community Services District. Ms. Landers.
And so this is our first public hearing on the budget, although the Budget Committee has met in the past, and then it was presented to the board at our last board meeting. But now we're formally providing it as a public hearing. It was noticed appropriately as required by our policies. And Joshua Byram will be making the presentation again. What we have done, as was discussed, suggested really at the last meeting, is we have a presentation that was put together by Carolyn that will be able to be shown on the screen so that members of the audience and anybody that looks on our web later can see the details. It is not as detailed as the report that you have in front of you. It's high level, but Josh will try to call out things that we know you brought up at the last meeting that you wanted more information on, or just anything that might be helpful by way of explanation. And then we'll, of course, have time for Q&A after he provides his presentation. Actually, President, if you would like, I'm sure Josh wouldn't mind stopping for questions as we go along, if that's your preference.
Yeah, I think that would be great if the directors just let Josh know if they have a question, kind of pause him for a moment. So, all yours, Josh.
All right, thank you, President Seals. Members of the board, we do have a presentation. It is going to be a little bit higher level, but as Ms. Landers stated, you do have all the details in the board packet, and I will cover some of those details while presenting. So, big picture items, the summary for the fiscal year is we are looking at having a change in fund balance. Now, what that is you have a corporation. A corporation has net income. We are a government entity. We don't technically have net income. We're not a for-profit agency. We are a not-for-profit agency. And when you're referring to governmental, it's a change in fund balance, or, depending on the entity, a change in net position. We have a change in fund balance. So what we are showing is we are showing that we are planning on collecting $10,500 of revenues over expenses. So we will be increasing our ending fund balance to about the tune of around $2 million, which is currently estimated. Now, some of that, our revenues are decreasing. I'll cover revenues in a little bit, but that's primarily from your other governmental agencies, where in 24-25, we did receive Prop 68, or plan to receive the Prop 68 grant funds, as well as a $20,000 FEMA reimbursement. Now, I do have to apologize. Part of the details, which I forget the page number, but for the 24-25 year, it did not include the $20,000 FEMA reimbursement, as we had discussed last time. So, Director Maynard, I know you had asked for that, and I did forget that this time around. So the 24-25 year in the summaries will actually be $20,000 higher of an increased fund balance. Now, some of the overall highlights for revenue, some of the assumptions and projections we're making. So we have estimated property taxes to increase 3.5%, which is a little more conservative on our revenue side, and we are typically conservative with this number. It has ranged in the past anywhere from 3.2 to 9.2, with the median being a little over 4%, almost 4.5%. We have estimated all of our permits and fees to increase 5%, and this is due to a change in the permit and rental fees that we charge, not an increase in sales per se. And there is that reduction that I did talk about due to the funds we had received as a grant for $60,000, as well as we did receive a one-time FEMA reimbursement for $20,000. Looking at our total expenditures, and we'll cover a little bit more while going through the detail. We did include for salaries and benefits a 3% for all employees, as well as we included a 3% based off of CPI for almost all of our expenditures from the prior year to this year. Now, there are a few different caveats, and those have been spelled out, and we can touch on those as well. But we do have a 6% increase in our contracted services, which is due to landscaping, IT, and ADP. It's a culmination. One went up 8%, one went up 4%, but it is a 6% average. As well as we do have insurance coverage. We did receive the quote or the premium. We actually just received the invoice and paid that a week ago, the 3rd. So we did get a 17.7% increase, and it does say workers' comp. That actually is just for our liability insurance. So that's not the workers' comp insurance as the presentation. As well as we do have a 40% increase in our community events, and we will touch on that later, the different events that we do have. So our total revenues, as stated, we do have a 3.5% increase in our property taxes, as well as our street light assessment. We do budget, I try not to guess on interest, so we do what we've received in the past. There's the total from other governmental agencies, which we've just talked about, as well as your permit and rental fees increasing. We do have some miscellaneous revenues and sponsorship, and typically our miscellaneous revenues are going to be a large piece is actually wristband sales during the Winterfest, as well as some various reimbursements through, who's your insurance carrier?
JPIA.
Thank you. All I could think of was Aqua JPIA, too many presentations, but JPIA nonetheless. But when we do some of our district trainings for staff, we are allowed to order them food, and they actually reimburse us for this food as part of our dues and membership. Our expenditures by department, we do have a total increase of salaries and benefits, primarily due to 3% COLAs being attributed, as well as the newly appointed interim general manager, as well as a earmark for potential general manager salary after the interim general manager's contract. The first 6 months probation of the interim general manager's contract, so then we have earmarked for a general manager after that. We do have our operations and maintenance. The nice thing is this actually did go down a little bit. We still have the 3%, but we did see a reduction in our fees from Trepepi, who does the video monitoring, and they've reduced staffing from 2 employees to 1 employee during the board meetings. Our total contract services did go down slightly from our prior year estimate to close, and that's actually going to be due largely to your contracted accounting services, mainly myself, which was previously performed by Mike Matsumoto. so during that transition. So our total administrative expenditures of $1,388,000. And I know the board has inquired about some of the miscellaneous fees that occur in the admin department. And those are a lot of items that don't quite fit into anything else. We have off-site storage, we have shredding, we have just various different fees, like the purchase of meals for the employees to attend training, that don't fit into any buckets, so we do have a line item for that, and I know the board has inquired about that. Our operations and maintenance, this is the item that is increasing about 40%, and the breakdown is seen on the next page, largely due to some added items, namely at the bottom three, which are the senior club, farmers market entertainment, and Shakespeare in the Park, which was not budgeted in the 24-25 year, as well as some increases in some of the events the district has previously held. The other item that the board did ask for is a breakdown of what the senior club looks like. So we have included that in the presentation of various proposals for the senior club of the $10,500. Next, we have our Rossmoor Park, and that's pretty consistent with the 3% CPI. It does have a reduction because we had some capital expenditures in the 24-25 year related to the picnic shelter, and that was where we were getting that $60,000 grant for, as well as the community center roof reseal. We have the Montecito Center, our Department 40, and that is increasing. We did have the 3% CPI, but we are adding funds this year to perform the exterior painting and parking lot resurfacing for $15,000. Our Rush Park has included additional funds for capital expenditures, which is contemplating the playground rubberized surfacing replacement of a little over $30,000 and exterior electrical panels. Our street lighting is as similar, maintaining the status quo of the 3%, estimating that. And our street sweeping, that is budgeted for a 5% increase, but this is I call it a pass-through fund or department or expense, I guess, because whatever we pay for street sweeping services, the county will reimburse us for that. So we do have the increase, but we do actually have a corresponding 5% increase in revenue from the county. And then getting close to the end here, we have our Parkway Tree Division, estimated to increase 3%. And our mini parks medians, same as previous. So we do have just the general change in fund balance year over year. And as can be seen, we are projecting to end the year almost at $2 million. I would actually probably venture to say we probably will reach that. We do collect some property taxes in July that are attributable to June. So we haven't received those yet, but I'm hoping that's going to get us right over that peak of $2 million. But right now we're projecting $1,992,831. I did obviously, and we do have some historical property taxes just for the board's purview from some of the historical changes. Now, it's a little bit difficult because it's not cut and dry. So we do actually have 2 years of negative balances. But these were attributable due to a bond payoff. So we had bonds previously at Rossmoor. We had been paying on those. We collected revenue through the property taxes to pay for those bonds. The problem is they all lump it up into what they call secured. They have there's like 10 different categories, but they have secured, unsecured, they lump it all in, so it's hard to differentiate what was attributable to bonds, what was attributable to just general fund, and so we do have that increase, but we don't believe at all that that was a reflection of economy, housing prices. It looks like it truly was related to the revenue to fund those bonds. And that is it, and I'm happy to answer any questions, go into any details of any of the specifics that the board may wish.
Director Maynard?
I don't have any questions for our accountant at this time.
Director Shane?
I do not either. Thank you, Joshua.
Director Renee?
No questions, and thank you for the great presentation on it. The visual in it was really helpful.
Director DeMarco?
Yeah, I too like the format. Thank you very much. Easy to read, and again, it's much easier than the detail. No, I don't have any comments on this. This is all pretty straightforward. The numbers taken out of the budget, so I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. I have nothing further. Is there any further discussion?
Are you going to open it? What's the? I have some comments on the overall budget, but in terms of Josh's presentation, I don't have any.
Okay. Ms. Landers?
I think probably it would be appropriate to open for comments from the public and then return to the board for discussion. And then the only other thing that I want to mention is depending upon what you hear, one thing that you might want to consider is that our policy does call for the budget to be presented twice, but you can decide to do it once only. And so depending upon where you are at the end of the discussion, if that's something that you want, that would be something that you can include as part of your motion.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, we'll see if there's any public comment to Josh's presentation. And seeing none, I'd open it to the board for discussion. Director DeMarco, would you like to go ahead and kick us off? I know you were in the committee.
Okay,
so
sure. So let's see. We had this discussion last time. And again, I'll just bring it up because I forget what we actually landed on last time. I think it was just, discussion. I don't think we should have the line item for Shakespeare in the Park in the budget. I think we should discuss it at the beginning of the year like we did this year. And if we have the money to do it, it's like a standalone project that for $5,000 that, we're increasing from, we're at 76 to 108, and to me, anything we can kind of cut or push out, and if we're having a good year, then just like they did last time, in the past, it's just, I don't like just putting in this slot that we have to pay for this every year. It's not our event. It's like we're just, and again, nothing against that event and the people involved with it. It's just, I don't think we should pay for it every year. It just assumes that we're going to cut the check for it without any discussion. That's how I interpret it. They should come in and ask, and we should have a discussion on it. So that's one of my suggestions. And then the other thing too that, looking over this budget, I just want to bring to the board and to our residents that now that we've closed 2024-25 or close to it and we have the actual number, that and Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just looking at our budget here, and this is just a concern and something that I want to bring up, that our revenues in 2023-24, $2,216,000 and change, and our revenue that we're thinking we're going to make in 2025-26, $2,265,000, which is an increase of $49,000, but our expenditures in 2023-24, $1.990, and we're thinking we're going to pay $2.254, which is an increase of $264,000. Does that sound about right, Josh?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then the deeper dive that, again, we all know on this board, but it's just a concern of mine because, we've built up this fund and these reserves, and I don't want to, erase all of our hard work with salaries going and benefits. We're not spending them on assets. It's increase on salaries, and our salaries have gone up from in 2023-24 $705,000 to $887,000, which is $182,000 more in 2 years. So I just want to bring that and remind the board and, share with our residents that we're spending a lot more in the last 2 years, and we need to be careful. I don't know if there's no agreement about, because the only line item that I see, these are just buckets of money that we're putting in. We're spending a lot more on our events, and I know we're increasing on the senior program. We're adding that, so $10,500. I think that's good. We'll see how these reassess all of these events to see if did we do a lot better, going from 33,000 to 45,400. We'll see this year. But we know everything goes up, but that's quite a large increase. I just think looking at all of this, other than the farmers market, the only thing I see where we could probably cut and remove from our budget is the Shakespeare and eliminate the 5,000. So again, that's my opinion. So those are my comments.
All right. Director Remney?
I don't have any comments now. I'd like to hear what the audience has to say.
No.
And so that's
Well,
next. That's next. So I'm okay.
We've presented it to the audience for comments, and there was no one who came forward.
So I have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Director Shade?
Well, I know that Director DeMarco has the issue with the Shakespeare cost, but I do think it's the value to our community because it's huge. I mean, the draw on it is incredible. I was there both nights, and it was extremely popular. Our residents absolutely love this event, and I think it would be a shame for us to not include it. That's all.
Okay. Director Maynard?
I've never been to the Shakespeare, so I can't say how widely it's accepted, promoted, et cetera. But since you brought it up, how does it compare to like our other festivals from a head count? Is it like thousands of people come to this?
No, it was probably about 600.
600 people?
Yeah, I was stunned, to be honest with you, because I had never been until last year, and I was super shocked at how many people, and I felt like I was missing out all this time on not attending, and absolutely fell in love with it. And it's a lot of fun, and a lot of people really enjoy it. It's a big draw, and it's incredible. It really is a wonderful event, and I encourage people to come.
Where I get what you're saying, I don't believe that we should cancel it. Where Tony, I believe he's coming in here, is he doesn't think we should subsidize it, because the year before we had it, we didn't pay $5,000. The year before we had it, we didn't have to pay them a check for $5,000. This is a recent thing that we've now had to subsidize them, plus the hard cost of all of the staffing, because when we have these events, we have to pay staffing to maintain the event, to be there during the event, to clean up after the event. So I'm actually with Tony on the fact that we were able to still have the event and work in tandem with the organization, but we didn't have to give them a hard check of money. We just had to work with them and provide assets and resources and not have to actually financially subsidize the event. That happened this year, not the last 2 years or 3 years. So I am with you, Tony. If you wanted to make a motion to remove it from the budget, I would second that for you. And again, it's not canceling the event. It's saying we're taking it off the budget. And I believe where you were going for is we can always have that discussion of should we subsidize it, but make it not a budgetal procedure, make it an ongoing meeting decision like we do with other things by resolution.
Okay.
I'll make that motion to remove it. And again, I'm not, I don't, I'm trying to think. I don't ever remember any representatives from Shakespeare in the Park, maybe years ago, but they don't come and ask. I don't know anything about their business model, their business. It's like they're renting the park, and they should come to us and ask us each year. And I don't even know what staff cost was that day. You know, I was there on Sunday. You know, there was a generator there and stuff. I don't, you know, I just don't know the particulars in it, and I just don't want it to be this automatic line item. I see it as just a donation to that company. They have a lot of people that donate. They, you know, they ask for money for residents and stuff. I don't know how many Rossmoor residents came there on Sunday. I wasn't there Saturday, but you know, I don't know what the actual count was. You know, it's just that event. It's not like it's part of a RCSD event. So again, I'm not putting down the event itself. I'm just, what I have a problem with is just earmarking money in you know, tax money that we get for an outside event or entity that I know nothing about. So that's my motion. I think we should remove it, and if they want to come in and ask for it each year, okay, I'll listen to them and we'll make the decision each year, like we've done in the past.
Okay.
Provide maybe a clarification, and actually I need Josh's help. I don't think it's actually in the budget. I think that we've given you a breakdown of the total dollar amount, and Josh, I do need your help on this. And the board may have asked us to help understand how we develop that number, but it's not, and it is something that was included in terms of coming up with the number, but you're voting on the dollar amount doesn't give approval for money to go to the Shakespeare in the Park. So I just wanted to clarify that. You could do it either way. You could drop the number and come back later, or you could keep the number, but still we'd have to come to you for approval if we were gonna try to hold another similar event. So I just want you to understand it's not in the budget in the way I think you may think it is. And Josh, can you just please, I mean, if I'm wrong, I want to know.
No, you're correct. It doesn't guarantee that those funds will be spent. Realistically, a lot of this is potential estimates. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it's our best assumption or things we're planning on or potentials. So that 5,000, as Ms. Landers did state, is not a guarantee of funds. It has been added to the budget, but the board could certainly take a review period or whatever it is that you see fit to.
I'm confused, Josh. So does that mean that staff is going to come back to us to approve the 45,400 and come back to the board to approve 33,725 on the Winter Festival and 4,500 on Health Festival, 2,800 on, what? So we're budgeted for 107,925 for community events, right? So it's earmarked it's a line item on it.
It is line
Okay.
item, yes.
So, since we don't have really a process policy on this particular one, everything else we're pretty much in control of, okay? We contract out for the festivals, contract out for the Winter Festival, okay? Health Festival, I think it's contractors or people coming in, all the way down. We're starting a senior club, okay, that we're doing, okay. Farmers Market, again, we put that on, right? Okay.
Director DeMarco, I just a little bit of clarification though is a lot of these items are individual contracts even at that moment. So when we're talking about the farmers market, the entertainment, that's going to be us paying for entertainment, right? We're going to enter a contract for some kind of services. And the same with Elite. We enter a contract with Elite for our festivals. And I would just like to say that we didn't do the Shakespeare in the Park the right way, I think. And I think Mr. Mendoza agreed, and said, we made the 5,000 and they said yes. And it wasn't really a discussion. And I think we all as a board think that didn't work the way we wanted it to. But many of these items do have like contracts that go into them.
No, I know that.
Okay. I want to be clear that
but we did have a discussion for Shakespeare last year.
Yeah.
For this summer.
Right.
And it was in last year's budget. It probably should have been in this year's budget, okay, because it happened last year.
The other way around. And
Yeah.
actually, in listening to this, I'm being reminded that the intention was to pay for it out of this 25-26 budget. What wound up happening was that we received the bill in the last fiscal year and paid it. And so I'm recalling this now, that it was budgeted, and I think that it was actually thought that it was going to be budgeted for this coming year, but it turned out it was paid for last year.
So my question, or my thought is why don't we just do that again and reduce 107,925 to 102,925, and we'll just do it again that way, where we just, since we'll just add it on, okay, to if we want to do it again, just like we did this last year. Again, putting it in the budget, it's like we're going to see this Shakespeare in the Park now, without, I'm afraid we're not even going to have a discussion. It's just we're going to cut the check every year for $5,000. Okay, so that's my concern is, again, nothing about, just like we assess all of the festivals and stuff beforehand, it's in the budget, we got to pay for it, okay? No, I think there should be more oversight in that, and like I said, no one comes from Shakespeare in the Park and asks us, it's a letter.
So I'll make my comments. I haven't had a chance. And I think Shakespeare in the Park is a worthwhile project for the community. It brings a different crowd of Rossmoor than what the Winter Festival or family festivals might bring. It's also, for a profit's sake, Elite is a profit center. I mean, we pay our family festivals, we're paying a fortune to a vendor to go out there and charge our residents $20, $30 for wristbands to go jump on bouncers. They charge vendors to come and sell us stuff. So to pretend that our festivals are all like a nonprofit and from the community and created by the RCSD isn't true. I mean, we're paying a vendor to manage something in which the vendor is then profiting from again. And so I think Shakespeare in the Park is different that way. And if we're going to look at numbers, I think one, we should put it in there as this is a placeholder number today, because then the money doesn't get spent on something else. And we didn't discuss whether it was more of a priority or not to Shakespeare. This is the discussion. And we can carry this through to next month if we want a final reading of the budget then. But, you know, $5,000 for 2 nights of entertainment and comparing that to $33,000 for the Winter Festival, I think kind of says where our priorities are. If we say that this item that goes 2 nights isn't worth 1/7 of what 1 day of the Winter Festival is. You know, residents can come and let us know, but I believe, you know, 600 different residents coming to Shakespeare in the Park is a value that, you know, we're creating a senior programming because we want to bring a value to other residents, not the same residents. And I mean, I love the festivals because I had a kid and I saw the smiles. I hear the laughing and smiles and joy from my house still. But I also hear Shakespeare and the silence of the audience listening to it, and that's impressive too. So, I mean, I'm an advocate for it, and I think just the same as we put in numbers to hold a place, I think we also can have a situation here where we're discussing it now, that we're not just giving the 5,000, but that is roughly what we put in. I mean, that is what we put in last year for the event, and we may decide it's not worth 5 this coming year, and we want them to come and everything else, but it still is a holder in our budget, which is what the purpose of the budget is.
So that's a good question. So as of today, is it worth the 5,000 without even knowing anything about that entity? Like, is that entity a for-profit entity?
To me,
So
I
is
just
it
said it
irrelevant?
doesn't matter because I'm already saying we're giving a lot of money to Elite Events, which is a for-profit company.
President Searles, we get thousands.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to answer your question. I just said it doesn't matter because we're paying one entity that we know is a for-profit, and the other, if it's for-profit or not, it still comes to the idea that it serves other residents, and it's at a much smaller amount than what we're paying for those other events. Director Remne?
I'm not sure. Originally, when this list came forward, it was at the Budget Committee's request to say, how are we getting from this number up to 105,000? And it was an information thing to say, these are the types of things we're considering. In terms of what the actual numbers or the actual events, other than the ones that are already embedded into Elite and what we've done, I think there's a lot of flexibility. I don't think there's any guarantees that any one of those there that really was meant to be our best guess at our general manager putting in a budget saying we expect to need $105,000 to be able to take care of our community events. And it was really an explanatory piece as opposed to a line item of we want and we don't want. So I'm comfortable leaving it there because nothing is guaranteed in that. And if we find we need to trim some things somewhere, of course we're going to do that because that is what's there. But community services are kind of here to serve the community, and our general manager's job is to do that. And she's asked for $105,000 in it to do that. So I support just leaving the budget alone because it was mostly an informational item to explain how we went from one number to the next.
Any further discussion? Okay. So I think we have a motion that's pending on removing the 5,000 from the, I guess this would be the proposed final budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. And the motion fails 2-3. Any further discussion? I don't want to rush it here. Okay, if you. Okay. Director Maynard?
Yeah, it's just more commentary. When you look at our revenues, 23, 24, and what we estimate to close, and then what we have in this budget, it is just a slight little increase each year. Even though we're going to be raising our fees by 5%, 5 to 10% on some things. And then when you look at our expenditures, that growth rate is phenomenally stronger. It's not by little scale. So I am very concerned by rising costs, which again, insurance companies really did a number on us. But the rate of expense growth to our slight revenue improvements, I am very concerned about the trends that I'm seeing. And I think this year, whatever budget we do pass, we have to be better evaluators of our programs, of our dollars, and possibly for the next year. Even though we're talking about this one here, when I see this here, I have to think about, what is 26, 27 going to look like? I think we have to be very diligent this year on whatever we pass, because these trends are going in the wrong direction.
Thank you. Director Shea, did you have anything further?
I would just like to say that I think that's a big concern for all of us on the board, without question. But there's, like you said, the insurance issue. There's issues on here and expenses that we're going to have to take on without question. And it's unfortunately these are things are put on our table, and we do have to be careful about what we're continuing to approve and whatnot. So I think it is a concern, but I think it's a concern for all of us.
Okay. I do not want to move this too fast, so I would suggest that we not skip a second reading, and we just proceed that this is our first reading. Is there any action we need to take with regards to it being a first reading, Tarquin? No. All righty. Thank you. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
We have a public comment that was overlooked, and I apologize. Ms. Nilsson, if you'd like to come forward with your item. Just take it out. You're okay. You won't break it.
I'm here because of the sports field now that we have here at Rush Park. I've lived here 50 years. My daughter went to school here, and my grandson, of course, went to Hopkinson. And we did soccer, when it was in 1976, before even soccer was alive. And I was a coach for those little tiny kids. And it was fine. And all of a sudden, Rush School was sold, and now it's the park, which is great. And they were we voted on it to be, the residents voted on it to be a passive park. It was supposed to have trees and maybe a fountain, but a lot of planters with flowers and stuff. And that's what we voted on. And all of a sudden, we have this sports field. It was okay when it was a couple of days a week. And, it was like, 4 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock, something like that. Now it's 7 days a week. They get there anywhere from 3:30, and they don't during this time right now, summer, or when it's light, it's till 7, sometimes 7:30. And we can't even park in front of our houses. we can't, I mean, they park in front of the fire hydrants, they overlap our driveways, and they're parked everywhere, you know, and there's a parking lot they could park in, but they don't do that because they don't want to walk that far. So I'm suggesting that we cut some of these out. I don't even know if some of these people got permits because they're on solid all over the park from one end to the other. So they can't have permits every day. And why should we sacrifice our quiet and peaceful existence for this soccer and baseball? Now it's not just soccer, it's baseball, flag football, and what's the other one? Something else. Anyway, and it's really getting annoying. You know, I mean, I'm all for kids having fun and stuff, but this is a little too much. And it's every day, and even on Sunday. So I can't even go over to the park and enjoy myself, put out a chair, you know, take my dog around the park because there's all these kids in their sports. And I tell you, if you walk in there and you're walking through their little sports thing, you get told about it. Well, I don't know how many of those people are residents and how many are not, and what they pay or what the ones aren't paying that aren't paying. So, I mean, why don't they go to Rossmoor Park? It's huge, and there's lots of parking around that, and even Hopkinson is huge, you know, the field there. But, you know, this is like, it's supposed to be a neighborhood. It's a residential area, and it's not a sports field. So I would suggest that somehow you cut it down, you know, to a couple of days a week or something. I mean, God, they could go to Oak or to LaSalle. You know, there's plenty of room there for all these kids.
Right.
So that's my story, and I'm stuck with it, but it's, you know, it's really getting annoying. I mean, you know, I'm all for the kids having fun and stuff, but this is really out of control, and the parents aren't very nice. So, you know, they park in front of the fire hydrant, and you say, hey, you're parked in front of a fire hydrant, and they go, oh, is that a fire hydrant? It's like, what? So it's getting to the point where, you know, you can't even say anything to these people. So I just would like to suggest that we cut down some of that, you know? I mean, there's so many other places that they can play and do that. But it's ridiculous. Even when I walked over here.
Thank you, Ms. Nielsen.
Okay. So the other thing is he was talking about Shakespeare in the Park. Do you know that my 4-year-old grandson, who I raised, came every time they had it and loved it. And there's kids there that really like it. It's educational. It's something that, you know, I took literature in school. We studied Shakespeare. I mean, look at the people that come. If you're going to cut out something, cut out those bouncy things, you know. That costs money, and people have to pay for that. So, you know, when you have the family festivals, you could cut out the bouncy things. I mean, why do they need that, you know? So my suggestion is that, you know, you cut down on the fields, on the sports thing, and cut out something else. But that Shakespeare in the Park, or Shakespeare by the Sea, is one of the best things that you have that's actually educational, and that people get something out of it. Obviously, because you were there, and I've been every year, you know, both nights. My grandson, who's now 21, still goes, and my daughter. So, you know, it's something that, you know, the whole family can do, and it's educational, and to cut that out is ludicrous. So,
Thank you. Moving on. Moving on with the regular calendar, item G1, discussion of possible action regarding resident appeal for fee waiver associated with tree removal. Ms. Landers.
Case, the resident received a citation for $1,000 for violating our tree policy, and there was a hearing held on that where the hearing officer determined that the tree had been improperly removed. The resident actually admitted that she was unaware of the requirements and did remove the tree. But there's a second fine that has been issued, which is for the value of the tree that was removed, which is $6,080. And that appeal comes to the board. So it's up to the board to make a determination if they will uphold the full amount or consider some lesser amount. The resident may want to address you to give their view of the situation. There may be some facts that you would want to consider that would cause you to reduce the 6,000 or not. But if we could, I'd like to invite the resident up. Is the resident here? If that's okay, President.
Yes, for sure, and welcome. You can pull it out, you're okay. There you go.
I'll break this one.
I'm sorry, Mary, let me ask first. Did you want to give any more details before we had the resident speak? Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Can't hear you.
I thought I did.
Okay. Typically, the city's arborist, the district's arborist, Mike Kingman, would give a staff report regarding the facts underlying the imposition of the fine for removal of the tree. Then the appellants, who are both here, will be given an opportunity to state their case, present their appeal, and then the board may ask questions of either the appellants or Ms. Kingman.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, so this was during a routine inspection of the block that I discovered that the tree was not there. Of course, I have an inventory on my phone of all the trees, so when I go through each tree, I can see the history of the tree and see the tree where they're supposed to be. So this tree was removed, and so they did receive the citation for the removal. That was the administrative citation. And then it was decided that they would also be fined. The value of the tree, but I just want to state a couple things about this tree, that it was planted between two drive approaches, which we normally don't plant a tree in the drive approach. Once trees are there, they do become part of the tree inventory, and they're considered to be the same as the other trees that are in the regular parkway area. So same rules and regulations do apply to those. The resident, I know, does not live in the area. They live in a different city, so they weren't aware, according to them, of the rules regarding the tree policy. So that's all I have to report, but if you have any other questions, and then maybe the resident, the property owner, can speak more on it.
Do any directors have any questions for Mary at this time?
Yeah, so this went to our arbitration guy, right?
Our hearing officer.
Our hearing officer,
Mhm.
kind of like arbitration.
Yeah.
And he said and made the judgment that they owe us $1,000 fine plus per our policy, plus the $6,000.
That was was not part of his decision,
Okay.
because there was a citation sent,
Okay.
and then there was this, which I'm not sure if it got included in the report, but it's a demand to pay damages, and that comes from our tree policy, not the administrative citation policy,
Okay.
but the tree policy, which states that this is a part of it. Again, it's a board decision on that too.
All right, so our policy, though, says when someone illegally removes a tree, they may be cited, and they have to pay for the value of the tree that was removed. That's what our policy says.
Let Tarquin confirm that.
Procedural matters. So the tree policy has several parts. One policy allows for administrative citations to be issued for removal of the tree. That is, those citations may be appealed to the hearing officer. The hearing officer renders judgment on the actual citation. In this case, it was $1,000. The citee has the option of appealing the hearing officer's decision to the Superior Court if he or she chooses to do so. That, as far as I'm aware, does not happen in this case. The separate component of this is the demand of the district to pay damages, paying the damages based on a set formula to pay for the cost of the replacement tree. And that is what is at issue here tonight in this hearing.
And that fee and that amount is clearly identified within our policy, and that's why the letter demanding that money went out.
Correct.
And that's why they're meeting tonight to state their claim of why they don't think it's right.
Correct.
All right. Well,
Director Shade, any questions for Ms. Kingman?
Can you give us some details on the tree?
Sure. The tree's a jacaranda tree, and I didn't have an age on the tree because it was planted way before Google Images, way before inventory system. But I said in my report it's approximately 30 years old. It was confirmed it was a little older than that by the property owner. And the value of the tree, of any tree, is it's a formula that's based on the diameter of the trunk, along with the species, condition, and where it's planted. So it's just a formula that's generated in our system based on the size of the trunk diameter, so and the species. So, yeah. The tree, I had inspected it prior, so I didn't have any notes on the tree as far as it was having any issues. So.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Director Rednay?
I'd like to hold my comments till after I hear from the property owners, if I may.
Okay. Director DeMarco?
Mary, so from the pictures you've given us, I see 2 trees, and then the last picture, I see 0 trees. So what happened?
So, yeah, sorry, it's the tree closest to the driveway.
What happened to the other tree?
The other tree is still in place. That's actually next door. Because this tree, like I said, it was planted between 2 parkways. So what you're looking at my last photo, you don't see that other tree because I'm pointing the camera towards the property.
I see. Okay.
Which,
so the other tree's to the left
yes,
of that
exactly.
photo. Okay,
yeah.
so that other tree's still
Yeah.
there. Not
The
on
other
their
tree's-
property, but on their property? Is it on the property?
It's on the parkway, yeah.
Is it on their property, though?
No,
It's on the neighbor's property?
it's on the neighbor's parkway, the second tree, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, we'll.
Are you asking if the tree was on their property?
I just want to get, I'm looking at these pictures, I see 2 trees, and you're telling me that the one that they removed is next to the car in the driveway, okay? And then you took a picture of the white garage.
Yeah,
and
they
the
paint.
ground there is where that first tree was, and you're telling me that this second tree that I see on the left-hand side is still there and is not on their property?
Right, it's on the neighbor's parkway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have any comment on the value of the tree? And, I mean, this is this is how we value our trees, consistent for all the years you've been here, that we use this approach to evaluate this 30-year-old tree?
Yeah, the value is standard industry practice. It's regulated by the International Society of Arboriculture and ANSI, which is the American National Standards Institute. So that formula, that trunk formula method is approved and regular method of valuing trees.
And this is to staff. They've already paid the $1,000? Okay, so this has nothing to do with the $1,000. This is just on the valuation of the tree.
That's correct. In order for them to have the appeal in front of the hearing officer, they had to pay the fine, and once the hearing officer determines that that fine was valid, that they've given
lost-
up that, they've lost that money.
Okay.
Correct, it's
Okay.
separate.
So we're not talking about that, just the valuation of the tree. Has there been instances in the past where this has happened and this board has been at this same position? I just don't, I mean, I remember years and years ago that this has happened, but where the homeowner had to pay for the value of the tree.
The difference in the other cases were that they knew that, for sure knew that they weren't supposed to, because they asked me first if they could have the tree removed or the tree pruned, or,
Yeah.
and then, so this was different in that way, that I didn't even know, I never was in contact with the resident or
But
the property owner.
Has homeowners been up in front of this board?
Yes.
Ask, yes?
Yes.
Do you remember what the, I know the circumstances, I'm just curious what the past boards have concluded. Because it's, my position on this is, I mean, it's a lot of money, but at the same time, if it's too cheap, people are going to start taking, I don't know, I'll pay a couple grand and take down my tree.
Yeah.
So I just want to know what we've done in the past, and I just don't recollect I know it's happened before, but homeowners have paid the value of the tree in the past? If you don't remember, you can say I don't remember.
Yeah, just, it was different circumstances,
Yeah.
that's all I could say.
All right.
Because it was,
Okay.
Mary, we've talked about where this tree was. With this property, the way it's laid out, where would the tree normally be, and is that possible the way things are, currently designed, right? I mean, if it's not all, concreted out, it's not, hardscape to the point where there wouldn't be a proper location for a tree, is that possible at this point?
so there, in the park, the actual parkway of the home,
Yes.
there are two brick, I believe, planters. They might be concrete. For some reason, I think they're brick. And
I want her to tell me.
there is one tree planted. We tried to plant 2 trees, but when the contractors went to plant, and one of the planters, they said it only goes to the depth of the sidewalk, so it wasn't a deep planter. So we did plant a tree in one of the planters. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And again, there was the person living there, I think it was a rental, so I was dealing with that person renting, because at that time, we didn't have a way to get property owner names and addresses if they didn't live at the residence. So I was dealing with that renter. We planted a ginkgo tree, which is still there. So there is a tree already in front of the parkway.
Okay, so this
That answers your
resident does
question.
have their required tree
Yes,
in the
they
parkway?
already have one tree in the parkway.
Alrighty, thank you.
Sure.
Can you go ahead and ask the resident to come forward? Welcome, and thank you again for your patience. Thank you, Mary.
This again?
No, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing us. We are here requesting the Rossmoor Community Service District Board of Directors rescind or substantially reduce the demand to pay damage in case number 45. The tree in question was not planted by the RCSD. It was planted by my deceased mother-in-law, and that was close to 50 years ago. Life expectancy of a jacaranda average 50 years. We believe the tree was ours and our responsibility. To the best of our knowledge, the tree has not been trimmed or taken care of in the past 10 years by the RCSD. Several times, branches have broken off during weather events. We cleaned it up. There was no assistance from RCSD. We believe the tree was planted when planted, was not authorized and was in a bad location. It was right next to the driveway and directly above the gas line. There are no jacaranda trees on this section of Davenport. The arborist declared that a new tree would not be planted in this location. To me, this indicated a bad location for a tree, and perhaps action to remove the tree was warranted. The current residents of the property, which are our daughters live there, indicated several issues with the tree. The tree roots were breaking and forcing the sidewalk up, creating a hazard to pedestrians. Two neighbors who have a disability had difficulty navigating the sidewalk, posing a trip and fall hazard. The next door neighbor contacted RCSD a few times in the past 2 years to help with the situation. We realize that sidewalks are not in the domain of the RCSD, but trees are. It was the tree roots lifting the sidewalk. Perhaps this was a time for dealing with the tree. No action was taken. In addition, the jacaranda flowers were damaging private property. The resident's car paint was being damaged, and the next door neighbor's house paint was being damaged by the flowers. We felt responsibility for the damage to private property. In our views, it appears the tree is not a normal Rossmoor tree for the street. We had no intention of violating the district tree policy. We believe we were dealing with our private property and fixing a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
We live in Long Beach, and anything other than the city tree, you're responsible for. He's referring to the, what is it, we did not know about that, and I grew up here. I left when I was 17. I inherited the property 8 years ago. I did not know that there was an arborist or anyone. The neighbor next door who was here, his wife fell and had a spinal injury, and then we found out it was on top of the gas line. The people across the street, their dad had Alzheimer's and got in the car, backed up, hit the gas line. The gas people came out, said that there was more gas underneath the land than was expected for just having happened, and we disconnected that gas line and put solar panels up for the pool. I mean, it's like all this stuff is, we didn't know, but it's not an appropriate tree, and it wasn't in an appropriate place. And Mary said 3 times in the thing, we're not going to put another tree there. We don't put trees there. So, I mean, we would have come to you guys. We didn't want to pay to have that tree taken out. If you would have taken it out, we would have been very pleased. So, that's it. I mean, it's like we weren't trying to hardball anybody or do something we weren't supposed to do. We thought it was our responsibility. And everybody was complaining to us. And in our city, it would have been our responsibility.
Okay, did you have your neighbor want to come forward? All right, thank you. And if you could use the mic more often.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've lived there for 41 years, and that tree's been there for 41 years that I know of. It was there when I got there. It's lifted the sidewalk up 4 inches, and the county, after a year and a half, came out and fixed the sidewalk. My wife's in a wheelchair, and she couldn't navigate going by it. The tree was making a mess. It's ruined my fascia board. I know you guys are on a budget here, and I know you're looking for money, but this is not the way. And what is the protocol? I saw a pine tree years ago taken out by the homeowner on Davenport that wasn't planted. You know, it wasn't a Rossmoor tree, it was a pine tree. And they took it out and nothing was done. There's a big hole still where that tree was. And there's no protocol for this kind of fine. So I'm just asking you, they did the right thing of what they do. $1,000 is way more appropriate if that's what you want to spank their hands. but $6,000, come on. We're not going to make this budget by finding the people of Rossmoor. We love our trees. I love our trees. But we can't pay salaries on finding the people of Rossmoor. Thank you.
The record, please.
Daniel Nicoletti.
Thank you.
11552 Davenport Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicoletti. Yes, I'll start, Director DeMarco, if you have any questions or discussion.
I'm just going to come right out and, so I'm glad you came here today while Mary had the, presentation. So, if you didn't know, and I know a lot of residents don't know, even though we talk about it on the board, and Mary has her reports, and we have an arborist, and we spend, over $100,000 taking care of our trees and stuff like that. We wish every Rossmoor resident has it. We develop policies to protect the trees, but I'm just going to come out and just ask, what do you want us? Okay, so you already paid the $1,000 fine. Okay. And, I've been on this board a long time. I've been on the tree committee for a long time. Every situation is different, okay? Every situation is different. And certainly I understand the particulars here and understand that it's not going to get replaced. However, it was a tree that, again, Mary, that we've maintained.
Yes, it was part of the inventory and it was pruned.
Okay.
The last pruning was October 11th, 2023.
So I'll just ask the residents, what do you want us to do? Just zero it out? Do you want to, what do you recommend? I'm asking you for us to, so we can cut to the chase, and you want it 0, you don't want it 6,000, you want it, where do you want it? And let's see if we can just do something right now.
Thank you. The citation hearing is very cut and dry. There's not a leeway for any interpretation. It's, did the tree come out, and they decide on that. So there's no discussion, there's no nothing. Personally, we would like it to go to 0, but we're willing to donate a couple trees or 3 trees to rectify this. We weren't anti-tree, we were anti this jacaranda tree, which was causing some major damage and causing a problem. So, we'd be willing to donate some trees and have them planted. It's just not at that spot. We have the regular Rossmoor tree right in front of the house, and if you look down the street, every house has one tree, and it's not usually next to the driveway or over a gas line. So, does that answer your question?
Again, how much does a tree cost? What's a 32-gallon tree run? 300? Yeah.
Like 4 trees,
So if I threw out and again, I don't know if my board's with me here, but I'm just trying to cut to the chase here. So if I threw out a number like $1,000 on the even though your mom planted it, okay, and I'm sure we have other trees in our inventory just like that tree. It's not going to be replaced. So you have circumstances here that warrant. You already have a parkway tree, okay. The only thing you didn't do is you didn't allow us to come in and again, even if, and I'm not saying this happened, but if staff does not rise to the level that you are expecting, you come to us or you write us an email and the board makes sure it gets done, right?
We realize that now.
Same thing with the concrete. We don't take care of the concrete, but we have the phone number for the county, the people that do, okay? So it just has to be earmarked. But would you be willing to pay $1,000 for the tree on top of that would plant 4 trees?
Well, if we can change it from a fine to a donation.
Okay.
All right,
I'm just,
go- yes,
I'm
all right,
gonna
fine.
leave it right
I'll
there.
let Director Rimney, your discussion.
First of all, with the damages, where would that money be going? Would that be going into a tree fund or into the general fund, or where would, is it earmarked for anything? Okay.
Okay, general fund.
Okay.
And we're not trying to,
Oh, no, it's just a general
Sarah.
question. Just-
Okay.
Yeah, so I see the cut and dry, the $1,000 fine. The fine is there, you didn't know, it's okay. When I look at the $6,000 value of the tree, that really is $6,000 less in our asset inventory for trees, but it was an accident, kind of like when the neighbor's kid breaks your window, it's an accident, but it's still a damage. So I can see doing something, but I'm not sure. And then when I look at the value of a $289 tree, if Mary has said that a tree doesn't need to go there and you're willing to plant trees other places, I can see doing one of two things. Either contributing towards putting in trees in areas where we do want to have them, or contributing a small amount, somewhere $500 to $1,000, to be able to do better marketing efforts for other people that aren't new people moving in, that aren't here, that don't know what our tree things are, so that we can actually go towards bringing about the awareness of why the trees are important, as opposed to don't do anything to them or you're going to get fined, because we want to embrace our trees and we want to be good neighbors, and you want to be good neighbors. That tree would not have come out now if you planted it 50 years ago. So it's clear that it was not something that was deliberate or bad or anything there. So I think the 6,000 is excessive in the terms of the situation, but the damages itself are there. So I think something is warranted, but I'd like the, whatever is decided on, to go towards something positive towards tree improvement. But I think that the 6,000, I think, is in light of the circumstances, probably excessive.
Director Shade, any questions or comments?
No, I like both what has been said. I'd like to cut to the chase as well, and I think that anywhere between 5,000 or 500 and 1,000 is perfect. Plant a few trees, do a donation, whatever it is, and I do think that 6,000 is excessive, considering it wasn't our CSD tree to begin with, and your mom did plant it. I understand the issue with the jacaranda trees, and I know they're a pain on the butt. I love them. I would have one in front of my house if I could, to be honest with you, and keep away all the people that park in front of my house, because I'm one of the people that get all the apartment people that park in front of my house, so I would welcome that. But I understand, and you have a lovely neighbor that you have advocating for you. Thank you for coming, all of you, and I agree with Tony and Mary Ann.
Director Maynard.
The fact that a tree is not going to be planted in that spot, and I'm hearing that correct, right, Mary? That says everything to me. Says that that's an inappropriate spot. Someone decided to plant a tree, take care of it, so the fact that we wouldn't even put a tree in that spot, and to be honest, I don't think jacarandas should be on parkways because of damage to paint. So I am with the rest of the board on here that this isn't punitive. You didn't go in with malice in might, so I believe a donation plus the fine that you paid would be service enough for me.
My comments would echo those of the board. I would say thank you for coming in tonight first. The discussion, clearly we can see you have rapport with Mary, and that makes this a lot easier. I would support and recommend a $1,000, additional, assessment. I don't know that we call it donation or however that's done, because that's a legal thing, I think, of how you give money to the district. But that being said, I think $1,000 would be enough to deter anyone from willfully doing it just to do it, but at the same time, knowing your circumstances, diminish that greatly. And I would suggest as a board that, we consider that $1,000 be the first offer here. If anyone would like to move that.
I support and move the $1,000 to be worked out with legal, whether it's donation, assessment, whatever you need to do, with the condition, direction to staff that the money go towards something supportive of tree efforts as opposed to general fund money. But I'm good with that.
I'll second that.
So the motion is to reduce the amount owed to the district from 6,000 and change
Yes.
to 1,000.
Yes.
That's the legal effect of the motion.
And we have a second from Director Maynard.
I got a question, but what is the procedure in invoicing that, though, to the homeowner? Is that, again, what I heard was, I'll donate, and I hear what he's saying, or is it a citation, and is it another,
It's not a citation, it's not a fine, it's the reimbursement formula under the tree policy, policy 3080. So the current reimbursement formula is 6,000 and change. This would be reducing that reimbursement.
Okay, so
reimbursement
keep,
amount.
and I don't know if you know this, Tarquin, and Carolyn, Ms. Landers, again, you may not know this too, but so how would our CSD go about, do you just call them up and say, hey, bring in a check for $1,000, or do you invoice it out, and what's on the invoice? What's it saying?
So they've already been invoiced, so to speak.
Okay,
And so it's really your motion, as Tarquin just said, that would be reducing the amount from the $6,080
down to
$1,000.
$1,000. If this motion passes.
If the motion passes.
And I'm asking you, is that important to you, how it comes to you? Because, again, we have a particular procedure, but...
I would prefer if it was a donation. I mean, it sounds better, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes out to the same dollar amount at the
Well,
end
if you,
of the day.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not a tax person, but if you write RCSD on it, and I don't, yeah. I'm just trying, if we need any more direction, to give staff direction. And I don't want to be, though...
I think we just need to
Just reduce it to 1,000?
No,
leave
look
it
at
alone?
page 54.
Okay.
Look at page 54 of 132.
Yes.
We just revised this notice. It's still a notice of citation. It still calls us out, but we're reducing the amount.
Right.
I know you would like to do a donation, but I think we're being cool about this. This is a tree. This is also part of precedent, and we do have to protect our trees with our language in these documents.
So typically, what would happen would be a revised invoice based on the board's direction would then be sent out to the appellants, and they'd be given a certain amount of time to pay the revised invoice.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? So I'd move for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes 5-0. Thank you so much
Okay.
again.
Thanks for coming out.
And moving on to regular calendar item G2, discussion and possible action regarding available tree species planting list. Ms. Landers and Mary, would you like to go ahead and present?
Dynamic is the last discussion, but you never know. So every year, we present to the board a list of species that will be used during planting season, which will be coming up. And I will let Mary provide a little bit more detail, including a few features on this list that we want to bring to your attention.
Yes, so this list is in line with what I've been planting for the most part. Occasionally I have to remove a tree because its disease prevalence becomes too rampant in the in the area, in the region, and just like the liquid amber tree that was previously planted, they're getting diseased, getting infected by a bacterial disease, so we removed that tree from the planting palette. One tree that is, if you look at the very bottom, I do get requests for jacaranda trees. I'm going to say jacaranda is probably the most controversial of all trees because people love them. If you've ever flown into LA or Long Beach during bloom season, you see the sea of purple that everyone loves. But then people don't want them planted where they have to park a car. So it's a controversial tree, but some people really, really want one. So under Ms. Lander's suggestion, we've put it at the bottom with a note saying that if people are aware of the issues with jacarandas and they still want one, we'll allow one to be planted. But that's, again, up to your approval. If you have any questions on any of the other species, I will answer. And just one more note about the jacaranda. It is still recommended as a street tree. The Southern California Urban Forest Council, who I look to for recommendations, still recommends a jacaranda tree because it does really good in our climate, provides shade, it looks attractive. So there are features that make it worth planting as a tree if someone is okay with the litter that it produces.
Alrighty. Any questions for Mary at this time?
And then I believe we have a comment on that,
Yeah.
public comment.
Any director's questions for Mary, or we have a resident who has a comment as well.
So just where we are, so the changes to this list are just the two highlighted.
The other highlighted one I have had on there for years.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
those
right.
are just because they're specialty trees. Sometimes they cost more. So if somebody wants those trees, I have to charge them the difference of what we would normally be paying.
And you're bringing this to us just to remind us of this list, right? And
It's actually part of the policy
Okay.
that you should see this every year. Yeah. Yes.
The list that you have, and I think it's great because it gives different perspectives for different things: wide canopy, fast-growing, slow-growing, low water needs. And I think it's wonderful that we have you there guiding and directing people to do that. Are there times where someone will come to you and go, you'll just go, that's not a good place for that tree? What happens if they're really sold on it? Will you go ahead and plant that?
No, that's a really good question because if they, say for example, they want a tree that takes a lot of water to get established and I go and their parkway is completely dry with no irrigation and it doesn't look like anything else has been watered, then I will go back and say, look, this tree's not going to survive in that parkway. But I do give them the option to choose, but then if it's not going to work there, if it's going to be too big or, like I said, not appropriate for their landscaping, or their water abilities, then I would say don't put that tree there. We're just going to be wasting our money.
Perfect. That's why I love having you here. In terms of the jacaranda, the only other thing that I would say is I, too, love the people that have sacrificed their yards for me to see the beautiful purple flowers, and the canopies are absolutely wonderful. And what you might put into it is just kind of like in practice, asking the neighbors if they're going to mind having all of the blossoms dropping. And if there's no problem with that, then move forward. But just because I want one isn't necessarily, because a lot of the issues we get are from creep over and spillover of neighbors.
Right, exactly.
How long does that bloom, do you know?
They usually bloom for a few months, like three to, anywhere from 2 to 4 months. It's just depending on the conditions, yeah.
Director Mayer, any questions? Okay. Would you like to come up, Ms. Langweiser?
everybody. My name's Felicia Langweiser, and I'm here to talk about jacaranda trees. Anyway, little history. I'm one of the original residents. My parents moved here. I was 2 years old. They bought here in 1959. So, and I went to Hopkinson, Oak, LaSalle. So I saw a lot of changes. And we lived on Tiger Tail, and right now we actually live on Tiger Tail and Oak Way, 3 houses away from where we lived growing up. And while growing up, we had lots of trees. We had no backyard. My parents moved in. My dad built everything. He did the gardening out in the front, backyard, he built by himself. And in front of our house was this gorgeous jacaranda tree. It was beautiful. And I loved it because of the tree, the bark, the branches were dark. And in the evening time, and when the sun comes down, the trunk is like black, really dark, with these beautiful purple flowers. I loved it. My mom loved it. My dad loved and hated that tree. And because I was growing up, you're going to help me pick up the leaves. My dad was really into cleaning. He was constantly picking up the purple leaves, and I had to go out and help him, which I didn't want to, but now looking back, you guys bring back this memory to me. My dad and I are picking up purple flowers, which I didn't want to do, but now looking back, it's a great memory. But now, and then the neighbors, they had some jacaranda trees there, I remember. They had it taken out. My dad took it out. No more jacaranda trees. There are very few, but Rossmoor, as a history, has jacaranda trees, and they're gorgeous. Even around the corner, city side, there's jacaranda trees, not like there was, but people do have them. And around the other corner, they have jacaranda trees, and they're beautiful. But what I was looking at, because I was driving through the community, the people who have the jacaranda trees, there are no purple leaves in the street. The gardeners must be taking wonderful care of it, and we have a gardener that comes once a week. And my husband, we call him Farmer Dean, because now he's a wonderful gardener, and he grows things. He waters. He takes really good care of it. And between my husband and the gardener, we'll be taking really good care of jacaranda trees. And the reason I'm here to talk about it is because I had a diseased tree. It's city side, and actually, growing up, there used to be 2 trees there, and I think one of the tree, I can't really remember that well, might have been a jacaranda tree, but was taken out and was replaced with a green tree. I don't know the name, but anyway, that was taken out, and the one I had was diseased, and that's taken out now. They just took it out recently, and
Would you like for us to allow you to have a jacaranda? Is that what you would like?
I don't know, would like to request to put 2 jacaranda trees in the spot. There always used to be 2 trees there.
Okay, we'll let the arborist come forward and let us finish this.
Yeah. I wear hearing aids.
No worries. We'll let Mary will come up and tell us kind of the action that you're looking for. So thank you.
Yeah. I can sit down.
Thank you so much.
Oh, or just hold on. Let her speak and then.
Okay, so where she's located is on a corner house, and the tree that we had to remove is on the side parkway. It's actually on Tiger Tail. Normally, side parkways can accommodate 2 trees, and there was a tree there at some point, and I don't know when that was removed. I could probably look back and find out, but there was only 1 remaining, which we removed this year. So she's requesting that there be 2 trees there, and there is room. It's a long parkway. That's why we allow 2 on the side parkways, because they're usually a lot longer. So there is room for 2, and it's on a street where it's a side, which I'm not sure there's a lot of neighborhood parking going on there, because it's abutting a little side street that they live on. So I would say it would be okay to put 2 trees there.
Would it be concerned to have 2 jacaranda trees that might then overhang more of the neighbors or more of the side street?
It's not going to overhang a side street because it's already, you kind of have to see they're on a little side street, and then their side parkway is on Tiger Tail, so it's just like a long strip on Tiger Tail.
Okay.
And there's no other house until the corner of the next block that's running perpendicular to Tiger Tail.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it's Silver Fox. But
Okay. And sir, you had a question? Or did she answer it?
I just have a question for Mary. Aren't the tree wrappings good for butterflies and bees and all that? Flowers are, yes. Flowers. Yes. Flowers of any tree are.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Director Maynard, I guess I'll start with you.
You're not going to like my opinion. Just saying, I love jacarandas. I used to live in Long Beach, over by Petaluma, where it's like this famous Long Beach. You know, as you go over the airport, you see all the purple. It's absolutely gorgeous. I agree with that. I believe we should have more of them, but they should be limited to being in the parks. I do believe that they do litter, unfortunately. I do think they damage paint. And just because I don't think it's an appropriate parkway tree to be on this list, because even if the owner wants it, this tree is for generations, not just a particular resident who is moving in and making a decision at the time. The trees that are going to be in front of the parkways are in front of homes for multiple generations and multiple community members that are going to be coming and going. And the tree that you absolutely love might be something that someone absolutely hates. Like I said, I love the tree, and because I lived in Long Beach, luckily we didn't have one, but I'd walk up the street and always loved the way they looked, and I always say to myself, hey, please. I would walk and I would see how beautiful, but I also say, boy, I'm so thankful that I don't have that ruining the paint on the cars and making my neighbors upset too. So I personally just don't think it's an appropriate tree for a parkway, even though that parkway is the side where you live. There's going to be another resident who lives there after you, and there's going to be another resident who lives after them. And our tree policy needs to be for the long road and for multiple generations of future Rossmoor residents. So that's why I think it's an inappropriate tree for the parkway.
All right.
Put more in the parks.
All right. Director Shea, do you have any comments?
Well, you'll like my eye. I like the jacaranda. And I think that we have several trees that make a mess. And if you have a gardener and respectfully as the homeowner and you want 2 trees, I think it'll look really beautiful where you're at. And it's not going to have a big impact on anybody right now. And even future generations, that location where you're putting them seems to be ideal for this type of tree, and it will add real beautification to Rossmoor. And if I could have that tree, I would. So you got my green light.
Director Rimney, any further comments, questions? Director DeMarco, any further questions or comments?
Is this on the agenda, that this is, I mean, so are we being asked to?
Approving the tree list.
Oh, just, okay, so we're just talking about the tree list here?
Yes.
Not by planting 2 trees?
No.
No, okay.
Just approving the tree list,
Yeah,
but.
okay, no questions.
Okay. I have, my only, I guess, comments would be that I'm happy to have residents who want trees. You know, it's great that we're not fighting about not having trees. That's very appreciated. Director Maynard, I think the only thing I would say to them is good luck when you go to sell the house if you have the tree that nobody wants, because it probably does change the price on what you get your house for, but or get for your house, but that's for them to deal with later. But I do understand it will be a factor to somebody.
Right.
Someone will like it or not. It's a swimming pool. So with that, I don't know if there's any further discussion of approving the tree list that Mary has presented to us.
Appropriate to approve approval of the tree list as presented?
If you wish. So we have Director Rimney has moved to approve the tree list, and a second from Director Shade. Go ahead and vote. Any further discussion? No? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? 4-1, it passes. Thank you so much, and thank you to the residents. And thank you, Mary. I think you're done for the night. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Moving on to item G3, discussion and possible action to authorize the co-sponsorship by the district by the Rossmoor Community Services District of the Los Alamitos Chamber of Commerce 2025 Heroes Appreciation Luncheon. Ms. Landers.
President, we've been approached by the Los Alamitos Chamber, Area Chamber of Commerce, asking if we would like to be a co-sponsor of their annual luncheon, which they've had before at our auditorium. We haven't always provided a fee waiver. They're asking for a fee waiver. And under our co-sponsorship policies, it would require the board to approve it. And so what I've worked out with the representatives of Los Alamitos Chamber is that in return for waiving the fee, which would have been $420, they would give us a table for 8 people. And it turns out financially that we are a little bit better off because they sell tickets for $55 a seat, and if you multiply that by 8, it's like $440. So it's close to equal in terms of value, but in addition, they would list us, and they would have our logo on their marketing material showing that we were a sponsor, and we would have an opportunity, as we have in the past, to provide letters of appreciation to their heroes. And if we have this table, one of the things that we potentially can do, if I do know that most board members are interested in going, but some of you may choose to sit elsewhere, we could use the extra seats, some for staff, but also for our own heroes who we want to, have at this event where we can honor them in addition to those that are honored by the chamber. So I am recommending to the board that you agree to be a co-sponsor and waive the fee, and we'll in return get the table and our logo on their marketing material.
Yeah, I'll move for discussion. Director DeMarco, any questions?
No discussion. I'm in favor of this.
Director Rimney.
No comments, good idea.
Director Shade.
Let's do it.
Director Maynard.
Great event.
All righty. I have no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Landers, for the presentation. Anyone like to move to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
And I believe Director Shade with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on to item G4, discussion and possible action regarding the Church of Christ extended hours facility request for use of Rush Park Auditorium and kitchen for the Thanksgiving holiday. Ms. Landers?
Thank you. Under our policy, if anybody wants to use our facilities for more than 8 hours, we need to seek board approval for that. And so for this event, the Church of Christ is asking for extended hours around Thanksgiving. Actually, it's Thanksgiving Day, November 27th, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. on that Thursday, and then the following day, Friday, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. They expect to have about 300 people in attendance, and we would plan on having our hours split into 4 staff shifts to be present, oversee the events on both these days. I will be asking for my staff to volunteer. I don't really want to, for Thanksgiving, require individuals to be there. I think that I'll be able to get volunteers, though. And we will be asking the Church of Christ to pay the staffing cost. And in some cases, it will be regular pay. In some cases, it will be holiday or overtime. But we do want to pass that back on. And so it's something that I support. There's nothing about it controversial other than my hopefully being able to recruit staff members to be there on Thanksgiving.
Director Maynard, any questions?
We've been working the same event with them for years. This is an ongoing thing, so yes, I'm all for it.
Director Shade?
Same.
Director Remney?
Thank you for bringing it to us. We have done it forever, and just the inquiring minds want to know. I love knowing who's actually celebrating and doing things in our park, so having it here, yes.
Director DeMarco?
No questions, I support.
All right, I have no questions. Thank you, Ms. Landers. Do we have a motion?
So motion.
Second.
All righty. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? All right, thank you so much. Passes 5-0. Moving on to item G5, a resolution number 25-07-08-02, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Services District authorizing the dispensing of alcohol, beer and wine at the 2025 Rossmoor Summer and Winter Festivals at Rush Park. Ms. Landers?
Thank you. I believe that at least at one of the festivals, if not both, we have allowed alcohol to be provided. I think it might have been beer. We were a little surprised to hear this request again because we had the impression that the vendor was not interested in coming back. But what has turned out is they found that having been there, even though that itself was not very profitable for them, it drew people to their establishment later. So they're looking at potentially teaming up with a wine vendor and providing an enclosed area. It's what they've done before. When they've been there in the past, it was successful from that point of view, meaning we didn't find it to be problematic in any way. And so I'm recommending that we allow it again for these, both the summer and the winter festivals at Rush Park.
All right, Director DeMarco?
I have no comments. We've allowed it before. This is Ted's people. I've talked to Ted about this, that we didn't have it at the last event, and he had mentioned that about a wine. And it's mainly, if you read in the report, it's like mostly sample wine, so they're trying to promote their wine. And so it's just an add-on to the event. We've had it before. RCSD's not doing it. It's just part of the event, and Ted's taking care of it, so I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Director Remney?
I don't have a problem with it, and having been in the booths at the festivals, I have a lot of people saying, why isn't it here? So I think it's something that we can address at very little risk to us and help out also a merchant in the community.
Director Shade?
I was speaking to Ted about this as well, and he was expressing the same thing to me concerning, and I thought it was a win-win idea only because it's going to tie in the wine, Seal Beach Wine, which is great, another local, company here that we can use, and I think it'll be a win-win.
Director Maynard?
I'm cool.
All right, my only comments, and I know we've discussed this before, is to make sure that they do, keep things where they belong. The security is in place. The first time they did it, it was a little bit loose, and I think they corrected that after our comments to them. So I would just let them know in advance that it's still expected that, the cups stay inside their area as they agree to. But that's my only comment. So with that, do we have any motion to pass the resolution?
I wish to vote to, let's see, where's the,
This one, 5.
pass the resolution 25-070802, resolution for the Board of Directors of Rossmoor Community Service District authorizing the dispensing of alcohol, beer, and wine at the Rossmoor Summer and Winter Festivals at Rush Park.
Second.
All righty. Roll call for a resolution?
This is a roll call vote for resolution number 25070802, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Rossmoor Community Services District authorizing the dispensing of alcohol, beer, and wine at the 2025 Rossmoor Summer and Winter Festivals at Rush Park. Director Maynard?
Aye.
Director Shade?
Aye.
Director Remney? Yes. Director DeMarco?
Yes.
President Searles?
Aye. Thank you, Carolyn. Moving on to item G6, resolution number 25-07-08-03, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Services District authorizing the dispensing of alcohol, beer, and wine at a wedding reception event in the Rush Park Auditorium on Friday, September 19, 2025, from 5 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Ms. Landers.
I could only add a few more things to what's already been read. The group size is estimated to be about 275 people. No alcohol will be sold, and the application has been received in accordance with our policies 90 days prior to the event. And so, and they've already provided a $50 non-refundable alcohol filing fee, which has now been received. So we're comfortable with this. I think it's been done before, and I don't have any reason to indicate that it would be a problem.
Any discussion from the board?
How many, on this particular thing, how many staff do we have here? We have a staff here at all times when it's this large of a crowd?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I would just add that I appreciate when the residents actually ask and don't assume, and this is great to have in place. So thank you to the residents for seeking the authorization through the resolution. Would anyone like to move the resolution forward?
I wish to move the resolution number 25-070803, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Service District authorizing the consumption of alcohol, beer, and wine at the wedding reception event of the Rush Park Auditorium on Friday, September 19th, 2025, from 5 to 10 p.m.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
This is a roll call vote for resolution number 25070803, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Rossmoor Community Services District authorizing the dispensing of alcohol, beer, and wine at a wedding reception event in the Rush Park Auditorium on Friday, September 19th, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Director Maynard?
Aye.
Director Shade?
Aye.
Director Remney?
Yes.
Director DeMarco?
Aye.
President Searles?
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to item G7, discussion and possible direction regarding supporting Supervisor Nguyen's request that funds misappropriated by former Supervisor Doe be returned to the first district for distribution to the cities and unincorporated areas within the district on a per capita basis. Ms. Landers?
Thank you. So we're at a point now where former Supervisor Doe has been convicted of misappropriating very large sums of money. And the prosecutors have indicated an interest in returning what can be collected back to the county. Supervisor Nguyen has indicated in newspaper articles that she'd like to see that money come back to her district, District 1. And so we're suggesting to you that we support that request and add in specifically that it be distributed on a per capita basis to the different cities and special districts in District 1. So it's trying to be supportive of her request, but also trying to ensure that we get a little piece of that money as well that comes back.
Any questions for Ms. Landers?
Yeah, what is our first move on getting that done?
It's writing to the County Board of Supervisors, and I've already drafted a letter that I would suggest be signed by President Searles and just get it to them. I have contacted her, one of her top aides in the district, to ask how we could be helpful, and he wrote me back saying, well, I'll let you know as soon as I can. And I'm like, that's not going to be soon enough. So, I mean, we're not going to get instruction from them as to what to do. I think we just want to be consistent with what she's asking, which is that the money be returned to District 1. But since we want to get that money that was misappropriated, I think was intended for seniors during COVID. And so it's possible that there could be a conversation to return it to disadvantaged communities, and in which case we wouldn't get anything. And that's not unreasonable, but since we're writing on our behalf, I think just asking for money on a per capita basis is a reasonable request to make.
Director Remne?
I want to thank you for being proactive on our behalf for that, because first of all, the money that was misappropriated was discretionary funds from our supervisor, which is First District. And you're right, if there isn't something that puts it on a per capita, there are needs everywhere in the district, and I get that, but we're also one of those with needs. And so thanks for looking out for us, and I fully support what you're doing.
Any further discussion about approving?
I think we should follow this, that if in fact that the First District is successful, that we, could quite possibly request, money for our seniors, our senior program, 10,500.
For sure.
Whatever. So
I agree.
Not in this letter, but we just got to stay on top of it. Yeah.
Down the line.
All righty. Well, we'll go ahead and proceed then. Thank you, Ms. Landers, for coordinating that. Moving on to item.
Would you like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion. Sure. I make a motion to direct our president and our general manager to write a supportive letter seeking funding that is due First District on a per capita basis.
I second that.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, thank you. Passed 5-0. Moving on to G8, discussion and possible action regarding board member tuition reimbursement and travel expenses. Ms. Landers.
Yes, thank you. So one of the things that is always good for board members to take advantage of is seminars that are provided by the two entities that we are a member in, which is CJPIA and CSDA. Both of them have policies that encourage board members or council members, I guess it's really board members, to, well, it would be both, to go to their events, their seminars. They either would waive the registration fees or they provide scholarships for reimbursement and registration fees. So in this particular case, Director Remne has been proactive in going to several of these different seminars, and she has already secured agreement to get scholarships to reimburse for the registration fees. But the way this, in this case with CSDA, the way that they reimburse is they reimburse to the district. And so we would pay the director's fees, and then we would receive the fees back from CSDA. And we've been given letters of acknowledgement indicating that that money is forthcoming. They make their payments on a quarterly basis. So we weren't able to secure the reimbursement before this board meeting, but we will be getting it. And so based on the reimbursements that we'll be getting for the various different sessions, the amount that the director is asking for is really for one small registration fee and mileage. And I think actually one or both of those are covered under a different policy, which provide for local travel to be reimbursed, mileage to be reimbursed. So it's a very small amount of money. It looks bigger than it is, but when you subtract out the amount that we will be reimbursed, it really is about $41, $42 is what we're being asked for.
So any discussion on it? It's $43.20.
So has this money been paid already? Oh, okay, so you paid the 265, the 825, and the 265?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason it's being done this way is because the scholarship money is written to the district for me to go, because some of the larger districts send their people. So they don't write it to the individual that goes, they write it to the district. So rather than me requesting of the district to pay for it, I paid for it so that they could reimburse it to the district and pass it back through to clear my credit card.
So, but you paid for this like early April?
Yes.
Right? Why is it taking so long is there a process for the scholarship amount? Like so what's the procedure? I want to go to a CSDA a semanar, right?
Right.
And then we get reimbursed. We can seek
Quarterly.
we ask for reimbursement by who are we asking?
I requested it of the CSDA securing it before I agreed to go to it.
And the CSDA said yes?
Said yes.
Okay.
So it's paid for up front, reimbursed by them, but they reimburse everything that they do quarterly.
This is how we do it? Because I just don't remember this. I don't remember this procedure, like coming to the board, and so this is just new to me. So.
Well, why are you coming to the board now when it says you're supposed to do it prior to get our approval prior? So.
Right, and I believe Mr. Mendoza had arranged for such attendance.
No, he did not. I actually called because I was curious.
Okay. Well, all right, so he didn't, okay. One, I had told her it was acceptable as a new member to go for the training, and I thought Mr. Mendoza had arranged it. But I'm sorry, I apologize where I was going with that.
Okay, so again,
Again, the net to the district is the mileage and the $25.
Understood. So there's very little chance we're not going to get reimbursed.
Oh, I followed up with CSDA on that. And besides seeing the letters acknowledging the reimbursement scholarship, I was told by the person that runs the program for CSDA that they pay us directly and it'll be quarterly. And they acknowledge the amount. So I think it's a sure thing that we'll be getting reimbursed.
And actually, the $42 of it is for the ISDOC meeting, which falls under the other policy, and that Mr. Mendoza has reimbursed in the past.
That I understood, because I remember when Nathan dealt out committee assignments, I saw you were on there. I remember Ron Casey went all the time. I remember signing his checks for that. What I don't understand is policy 4090.40, authorization to attend. Attendance by directors of seminars, workshops, courses, professional organizational meetings, and conferences shall be approved by the board of directors prior to incurring any reimbursement costs. And that was not followed.
So I can't answer for why that occurred. But
Well, I'm asking Director Remne, why?
I do know that you are asking her.
Mhm.
But I just want to state as the general manager that I agree that we should be following that consistently. And I will be working with everybody to make sure in the future that's how we handle it. But in this case, like in the tree situation, where, there were extenuating circumstances here, there's really no cost to us for the policy not having been followed because Director Remne did take care of getting the scholarship. So I couldn't agree with you more that we should be following policy in terms of getting that approval before. But since there's really no cost here, or it's de minimis, that would be why I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I think, I see where you're going with the policy, but the reality is she didn't register without already having the scholarship. So she knew there was zero cost because she had a scholarship. Now the way they handle paying for it seems to be the issue. But it's not that there was a cost. I think that can be understood, that there was no expected cost to the district because there was a scholarship awarded to an agency that we are quite, familiar with and, we're a member of for that reason. So I don't think I understand your point of saying if we were going to, in a situation where the district was going to be put out money, then we should seek approval. But she went to an event knowing that she had been approved for a scholarship for the fees that she was, being assessed.
Well, someone came up with this policy, that board approval, not necessarily because of financial, but whenever any of us boards go to a conference, we are representing Rossmoor. I think it's a good policy moving forward that if anyone wants to do these, we should follow these policies. Well, he's making it sound like, I'm not getting that. That's why I'm just confirming here is that we need to follow our policies.
Moving forward, I agree. And had I known it would be an issue, it would have been done differently. I was encouraged to go to training when I first joined the board by General Manager Mendoza, and I secured that it would be at no cost to the district. So at this point in time, it has been paid for. I have attended it. There is scholarship money coming into the board to reimburse.
Right.
So if it doesn't reimburse, it's going to the district. So I'm just asking that we zero out the balance to be able to make it clear. And
No, I understand.
And I agree with you 100%. Moving forward, it comes to the board.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Would you like to move to approve?
I would like to move to approve for reimbursement and travel expenses to Director Renee on policy number 4090.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Abstain.
I'll abstain.
So 2 in support, 3 abstentions.
Oh, so it didn't pass? No. You're not voting for your reimbursement?
I think if I am allowed to, I will, but since
Aye.
it's coming to me, I would have to defer to our general counsel.
I would suggest recusal.
What did Tarquin say?
I would suggest recusal.
I can't hear you.
He
I would
suggests
suggest
recusal.
What-
Recusal.
Is recusal the same as an abstention?
You were sitting on the dais, so technically you're not recused, but you're abstaining from the vote.
I'm not quite sure what that means.
What,
Recusal from the item would mean that you would have left the dais, but you were sitting on the dais. My advice is to abstain from the vote, since the money would be coming to you.
okay, well then, I will change my vote to approve.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director Maynard. So we have a 3 in support, no nays, 2 abstentions. All right. Thank you to the board. Moving on to item H, general manager items.
Okay, so our last item on the agenda, I will whip right through it, but I do have slides to go with it. Not music, but slides to show. So on Saturday, June 14th, 2025, Rossmoor Community Service District held its first family festival of the summer featuring the No Doubt cover band, No Duh. And these are photos from that event that I took. Friday, June 20th, 2025, was the first movie in the park featuring Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Saturday, June 28th, 2025, marked the return of the Shakespeare in the Park. Actually, I think it's Shakespeare by the Sea. Performing Julius Caesar on the Saturday, the 28th, and followed on Sunday, the 29th, with As You Like It. And I have a few slides from that, which I attended as well. And then senior programming continued with UCI health lectures, which we do not pay for, being held in Rush Park Auditorium on June 12th. And the first one was abdominal hernia treatment, which I think was pretty well attended. And then the second one on June 24th was overactive bladder, which was very well attended. And feature lectures include August 14th, robotic surgery, August 28th, muscular degeneration, and September 1st, hip and knee replacement. Coming up on July 12th is the second Family Festival of the summer, featuring the cover bands The Emperors, beginning at 6 p.m. On Friday, July 18th, the movie Moana 2 will be playing in Rush Park, starting at dusk. And then in preparation for the LWCF grant application submittal, the deadline for that is August 5th, 2025. We've been encouraging residents to share their thoughts on the Rossmoor Park playgrounds and the equipment by completing a brief survey, either in person at our next festival or visiting our website online. Survey submissions will be entered into the opportunity drawing for 4 free RCSD Winter Festival wristbands during the last Family Festival on September 13th. And then Montecito Center has been repainted on the inside. And we're starting to look at moving forward on our other capital projects. And with that, my report is concluded.
Director DeMarco, any questions for
Just
Ms.
any
Landers?
Questions on this report?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Director Rimney, any questions regarding the report? No questions. Director Shade? No. Director Maynard?
I'm good.
All righty. Individual board member items, item I. Thank you, Ms. Landers. We'll start Director DeMarco.
Okay. Let's see what I got here. Appreciate CHP from showing up. Interesting, what we gather when, individuals come and talk to us. But, when I asked them, about the ordinances, hey, just go ask the supervisor to change the ordinance. But, okay, but what's the beef or the meat of it? And I think, if I have time, I'll do it as a resident, but we should go look at Seal Beach and Huntington Beach and others to see the confiscation language in their ordinances because again, this issue with e-bikes is really not going away. I see it all the time. But, you know, and I didn't want to, because I appreciate the CHP officer coming here, but we need more enforcement too. You can't just, you can have all the laws in the book. If you don't have enough enforcement, which we don't have that much enforcement too. So there's laws already in the books, but it's just interesting. Confiscation, that's interesting. Okay, I kind of like it. I just need to, instead of just asking the supervisor to confiscate, how does it written in the language? So I thought that was pretty good. The resident that came here about the activity at Rossmoor Park, I'm just wondering, what's the, and it was
At Rush
Rossmoor.
Park.
Was it,
This
it
park-
was here?
this park here.
Oh, it was here, Rush Park, okay.
He lives across the street.
That's right. Okay, I'm still gonna digest, because what came to my mind was, what's going on with softball contract, with our softball? Had we signed the contract? I was on that committee, I'm not on that committee anymore, so I'm just curious what's going on. Did we already sign we haven't done anything, it's still, the MOU's the same?
Yeah, I could respond to that.
Yes.
I do know that Joe Mendoza and Chris started working on that, and we're trying to negotiate a few different terms, including reducing some of the usage. And I do know that they did not finish.
Okay.
And so it is something that I'll take up. I do know that on the league's website, the president, whose name I'm sorry I do not remember, actually lists having a new MOU as an initiative that he mentions to his members. So it is something that I do intend to take up.
And, perhaps we, in light of one resident coming in, telling us what she said tonight, maybe Chris should, in his next report, tell the board, give the board a summer schedule of activity, so we all know how much permitted activity is going on both parks. It would be just nice to know, because I don't know what's going on these parks. It would be nice to know that we're informed, during the summer, throughout the year, we could keep it going. But, I would like to know, are we overutilizing it? I don't know, maybe a fresh look or a look at that. I know we might already be contracted out, but I have no idea what the use is. Is it 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock? It's constant? How many groups? So it would be nice, I would like to know that.
I could, if it's helpful as a starting point, share with you the fairly old MOU that was signed in 2011 or 13.
You're talking about the softball?
With softball.
Yeah, no, I was
mean
on
in
that committee.
general.
I'm just talking about everything.
Right, and we could do that.
Okay.
We
It
could
would be
definitely-
nice to have that in the report. I'm not saying that we need to have it, but it would be nice to have a report that says, here's the activity.
Yeah, we could do that. And actually, I just went through this issue today, where my understanding is that we don't permit regular activities, group activities in the parks on Sunday without board approval. So I was a little surprised that she mentioned that it's 7 days a week here, but
Exactly, let's look into it.
yeah. And if I might just address the e-bike issue, because I've been trying to think about that as far as the parks are concerned, and there's a lot of pretty negative impact on our turf. And so if any of you happen to go to Rossmoor Park, you'll see that there are a couple of areas that have been blocked off with caution tape, and it's because there are deep ruts through some areas where there are roots that the kids like to use as jumps.
Yeah.
And so what Omero's doing is he's putting fresh topsoil over it. I don't know how well I don't know if it's gonna be something we can maintain, we'll see, but fresh topsoil and reseed, keep the caution tape, get some grass to grow. I'm just hoping that it might help keep some of the kids away. I don't know. But the other thing, and this is not really, this is information. I know we're not supposed to, it's not an agendized item. But when I've looked at our regulations, it prohibits motorized dirt bikes in the parks. And e-bikes are not motorized dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we might want to consider as part of like an overall, and I would probably want to meet with the appropriate committee, but would be looking at a prohibition for e-bikes in the park. Won't necessarily help with what he might have been talking about on the streets, but my concern right now is maintaining safety in the parks, because I know that these kids are also acting in an unsafe way where they cross sidewalks within the park, and there could be people there that they're terrorizing, purposely or not. But so it's on my mind as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. There was one other thing before I get to. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they're working on our channels, right? So which they're taking big chunks of the concrete out, and hopefully it's going to help the flow of the water, the stagnant water there. So, we might want to, I took some pictures today. I'll send them to you, Carolyn. We might want to just post those just to let, the community know that that's happening. And actually, there was one posted on, I forget what, one of the channels that, it's a piece of paper from the county that we might want to get and post or something. But I'll send it to you. Just a reminder, this Saturday, as Ms. Landers said, our second foodie festival, the last one was very well intended, and I'm sure this one will too. It should be a great afternoon, and hope to see everybody there. And that's it. Thank you.
Director Renee. Foodie Festival was awesome. It was really, really good. Shakespeare was incredible. Coming up is, of course, our next one and our next movie in the park, and I've yet to attend one. I'm intending to get to one this year. Also, July 26th, which is a Saturday from 8 to 12, RHA is doing their quarterly shredding event that's sponsored by Barney Rice and Nina Migacho with Rossmoor Lux Properties and Patricia Megalone with State Farm. And in conjunction with that, they're doing a canned food drive for the benefit of We Care.
Director Shade.
Thank you for mentioning the shredding event coming up on the 26th, because there's always a lot of questions on when's the next event. So mark your calendars, July 26th, next shredding event and don't forget to bring your canned goods, like Mary Ann said. It's a wonderful We Care event. Thank you to Troop 5086. Those were cadets. Those are the highest level of Girl Scouts, so they've given a lot to their dedication to the Girl Scouts, and I recognize them right away. And to our Eagle Scout Ryder, Troop 642, and congratulations to him. That's a huge coup, as
He's not there yet. I was giving him a little pep talk. He's not there yet.
He's going to be, though, so he's good to go. God bless him for doing everything that he has done with those butterfly little sanctuaries that he's cultivating, so that's wonderful. I love hearing that. Thank you to the CHP officer. He came in on a way in a prayer, and he updated us, and I love everything he had to say. I appreciate everything that you're doing for us, Sharon, working with him, with Supervisor Nguyen on that, and hopefully we'll get something going with those sanctions and something for our e-bikers situation, because I know we hear from our residents daily on them, and I was concerned, honestly, at the Shakespeare event, we had e-bikers in the park, and I was just, they're terrorizing people, as well as at our family festivals. It's like they're in the park and they're e-bike everywhere, and it's just ridiculous. So I really want to see some action on that. Saturday, this coming Saturday, again, the Emperors They're going to be entertaining us, and they're always a huge hit. So please come out and check out that family festival. They're always a lot of fun. Huge enjoyment. So that's about it.
I forgot my most important thing. Thank you to this board. For the first meeting, we had 4-5-0 votes tonight. We're coming together. We can do it.
Multiple times.
So thank you.
Director Maynard.
Yeah, a couple things. One, the investment committee hasn't met for a while. I'm newly on it, so I think we should meet. Given our budget, maybe there's some new investment opportunities. I know we're very hand-tied with secure investments, but I would like to recommend getting an investment meeting so we can maybe at least tie it to the budget a little bit. Two, the LA GSL softball. I know we have you and Remne on the contract committee, but given that we also have a new general manager, and Tony and I worked it for 6-7 months, I'm just making the suggestion and recommendation that you allow Tony and I to continue with Ms. Landers so it would be a smoother, faster transition, because spring ball's coming up, followed by fall ball. There's certain things we wanted to do in time, and I think it would probably go faster just from a transfer point of view versus having you. I'm just putting it out as a recommendation for you. And then the other thing, again, welcome Ms. Landers to your new chair, to being at this desk. I think as a board, we've never really looked at her interim position and set goals, objectives, measurables, and then what is a succession plan for the ongoing general manager. I feel that we still need to do that work, and I believe that work would still be under a closed session because it's detailed about personnel objectives, review, and stuff like that. So I think we need to get that coming sooner than later, because her 6-month contract is up pretty quickly. And I don't know, at least I don't know what objectives have been given to her, what goals have been given to her, and I think that's something that the whole board needs to know. And if I don't know, others don't know. So I think we need to get that agendized. And that's all I have.
I just want to mention, if I might, President Searles, that the president has asked that I have all committees meet as soon as possible in the next few months. So I have been slowly trying to get that going based on the items that have been coming forward. So we'll do that with investment committee as well.
Okay.
All right. And I think everyone's brought up really good points of what's going on. I think, Ms. Landers, if we could have you look into what the county does for county parks and e-bikes, I think that might be a direction. I can imagine that hopefully the county has a plan for how e-bikes are handled at Miles Square Park. That would be a pretty good example, I would think. I mean, we have plenty of county parks, O'Neill and others, where there must be some language about how the county handles e-bikes. And if not, we need to be working with those supervisors in those areas and saying, you got this park, we know it's an issue there. It's got to be an issue at all these county parks as well. So let's get the county to say, this is the language we would use, because I know when we had the sheriff here, must have been a year ago, one of the items we said is we have this signage that says no motorized vehicles in the park, and it was kind of like yeah, but we don't really know what we want to do with that. If we can get them to sign on to the idea that this is how they enforce it at other county parks, it'll be easier for them to enforce here. And I can imagine a family, the family festival is a moment where the sheriff's department is standing there and would easily love to cite somebody in the moment for, one, for purposes of, the enforcement, but also the education. If everyone sees it happening at the park, at a festival, it's got effectiveness. So let's see what we're able to do there. I think working with the traffic committee to go forward with Officer Valdovinos' request for language for broad enforcement options for for the community with the supervisor's office is separate. One is the park, and it sounds like the sheriff would handle activity on the park. Things that are outside the park is going to be the CHP, from my understanding, and so we should be working with that. And I'd love to have a committee meeting, and that to be one of our items, is seeing what the language would be and us to be able to bring that to the board. I think I'm interested, as you said, with the sports activities and knowing what activities are permitted and which ones are just taking place that, the people, just as the residents don't know about the trees, I'm sure there are residents that don't know that, 3 unrelated people aren't supposed to be playing on the park regularly as an event. They're supposed to pay for that use of the field if it's a weird language we have. But we need to educate, but also we need to be aware of what's going on out there. So I think all that makes sense. And I would, want to thank Ryder for his butterfly garden and his presentation. And it's just very exciting to have. And lastly, to thank our arborist, Mary Kingman, for a long night tonight and having good resolution with the residents. I know the tree committee had its own resolution of an issue earlier outside of the board, and I appreciate the committee being able to come up with that resolution. And I like when things get resolved that way and not in a contentious way. To that, I thank the board and the committee. And that's all I have. Tarquin, any general council items?
No items this evening.
All righty. And with that, we will adjourn this meeting at approximately 10:30. Thank you.